Mark your calendars. The AZ Oktoberfest 2025 is happening 31st of October to November 2nd at the iconic Nitro Compound in Maricopa, Arizona. This track is next level with huge elevation, massive jumps, and fast technical layouts that keep the action intense all weekend long. Add some night racing under the lights and perfect fall desert weather with temperatures from 70s to the low 80s, and you have the ultimate RC weekend. Classes include novice, sportsman, intermediate, pro, 40 plus, short course truck, and you have the open class. This is for any skill level as a second buggy class. And of course, they have a 16 and under class with their dedicated 16 and under final. Race and hang out with RC stars like Ryan Mayfield, Spencer Rivkin, Spencer Heckert, Camden Lime, and the Iceman, Mason Fuller. They have a massive raffle from all the sponsors that participated, live coverage by Mod Live Media. This is one race you don't want to miss. Follow the Nitro Compound on Facebook and Instagram for more details, and get ready to send it at the AZ Oktoberfest.
Nitro is the glory,
but e-buggy pays the bills.
Welcome to the No Name RC podcast. Get ready for some serious bench racing. But be warned, we speak our minds, express our thoughts, and sometimes things can get a little rowdy.
Hate, and he just was influenced by the hate coming from the left, the hate coming from the right.
And let's get back to more club racing and less of this racing.
It's hard not to be arrogant when you're always right.
See what I mean? That's exactly why people call you arrogant, Max.
You may not agree with everything we say, but it's definitely worth a listen.
And our pick, can you stop whatever you're doing?
Join your host, Lefty the Great, with co-hosts and guests as they get together to chat RC.
Hey, after that race that I watched this morning, I have to talk about it.
Here we go. $100 right here, $100 throw. Oh no!
I like this.
Nitro is the glory, but e-buggy pays the bills. But this podcast is all about 10 scale. Welcome to show number 332. That's right, 332 of the No Name RC podcast. I'm your host, Keenan White, aka Lefty the Great. And joining me to my virtual left, I got to change it over. I don't like being on this side. I got to come over this side. Is some random Australian guy. Actually, he's not random. He is the team manager of a team associated there in Australia, Mr. Andrew Selvaggi. Am I saying your name right?
You're saying it perfectly, Lefty. Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us. And that's right. Welcome, Andrew, to the podcast. You have been a longtime supporter of the podcast via Patreon. We've had conversations over time. I know you're heavily involved in the 10 scale scene there in Australia. When you approached me about doing a Worlds preview podcast, I said, yeah, it would be nice to have somebody that actually is there and knows what they're talking about on here to do it. We were supposed to do it with Max, but due to time, you're like 14 hours ahead of me right now. It's 10 o'clock where you are. Oh,
10 p.m. Yeah.
Right. So it's 8 a.m. here. Thank you for your time. We got some good notes here that you've done up. And I think we're going to have a good chat because I think we're going to show people the Australian race scene, what to expect from the Worlds, and all that type of stuff. But before we do that, I just say thank you to all of the NNRC squad around the world. Thank you guys for all the support. If you're listening to this on audio, come on over. Please hit that sub-like notification button. We are just under 200 away from 8,000 subs. I'd really love to get to that as soon as possible. Definitely by the end of the year, we're running out of time here. 8,000 is not unattainable. And then, of course, the next stop after that will be 10,000. So I greatly appreciate if you come over, hit that sub-like notification button. It definitely helps out this podcast a lot. Also, if you want to help the podcast a little bit more, you can become an NNRC Patreon or a YouTube member. A little bit of money for the price of a cup of coffee a month. You can support the podcast. You get early access to podcasts. If you're a patron or YouTube member, you get early access to this. We're starting to do more Patreon and YouTube member lives as well. And yeah, we're trying to build a good community in those places and have some conversations that we probably can't have. We won't have conversations elsewhere, but I do greatly appreciate that. Also, we can't do this without companies that support us. We are going into 2026. If you're a company, you like this platform, you wish to support us and advertise with us, please hit us up. But right now, I'd like to say thank you to J Concepts, our main sponsor, title sponsor. Thank you to Jason, Ron, and Allison. High Tech RCD, Sidewinder Fuels, Latara Racing, Invisible Speed, ML Toys, Dollar Hobbies, Side Piece Racing, Get Shit Done Coffee. Also, Home of the Hustle Raceway. They're in Kansas. Check them out. I'll leave a link for them in the written description of this podcast. Elite RC Production, RC Project, Mayako, Techno RC, Beach RC, Racecraft USA, and Clinic RC, as well as Fly Sky, who's come on at the end of the year here. Links for all of these companies and the YouTube membership, as well as the Patreon, are all in the written description of this podcast. We have some coupon codes where you can save some money. I know you guys have been using the Dollar Hobbies one. I greatly appreciate that. We have some affiliate links where we get a little bit of a slice of it as well. But showing the sponsors some love shows the podcast some love. And thank you, everybody, for the support. And here's to a very good up-and-coming 2026. Also, a big shout-out to our official No-Name RC podcast drivers. They are The Viking, David Ronnefalk, Robert Badier, Alexander Hagberg, Maddie G, Pecco Evening, Una Hotton, and Mason Fuller. And a big shout out to the NNRC Youth Squad, which is something that I need to get working on. All right, enough jibber jabber. Andrew Selvaggi, welcome to the podcast. I know you have supported this for quite some time, but I know there are people out here saying, well, who's this guy? So tell us a little bit about yourself, your involvement in the RC scene there in Australia, and your RC history as well, please.
Yeah, well, thank you first of all for having me. It's a pleasure to be on podcasts. I've been on a few of them. Some of your peers in the UK, and I've also been on a lot of Action RC's podcast. Scott Guyett, who's here in Australia, been on his in the past. So thank you for letting me be on here, and I hope people aren't thrown off too much by my accent. But to all those tuning in to the world, hey, you're going to have to get used to it because it's all you're going to hear for the next 2 weeks. I'm Andrew Selvaggi. I'm, I think, somewhere between 37 and 38 years old, I hope. I got into racing when I was, I'd say, 13 years old, kind of the same way as most kids did. Their friend at a school got a toy car, and I said I want to do one of those because my friend's got one, and we just so happened to live near an RC track, and instead of getting the ready to run Tamiya, I ended up getting a ready to race car off someone. We walked up to a local track and bought a ready to race car there that someone had, and that was kind of history. I been going for how long? What's that? 2000 till now, with a little bit of a break in there as well. I raced up until 2006, and then took a break till 2012. The usual thing. You turn 18, you find out what cars are, what the opposite sex is, and you want to go out and have fun. And toy cars really isn't the thing you want to do during that age group. So I took a break and came back in 2012, and kind of been racing ever since. Racing 1/10 and a little bit of 1/8 off road, and in the initially in the modified classes here in Australia, and then in 2020, just before the world turned itself upside down, I got asked to take on the role of team manager of Team Associated here in Australia. I haven't looked back ever since. I really enjoy the hobby. I've competed at both a national and a world championship level. Not at an A main level at a worlds, but can put myself in the top 10 here in Australia every now and then if I'm lucky, if the wind's blowing the right direction and the tide's in the right way. So yeah, but my strength is people, and helping. I get more enjoyment out of wrenching and helping someone else get out on the track than I do myself getting out on the track. So I think that's why my role as team manager kind of works for me.
Awesome. You also a pretty smart guy because you work at the university there in Melbourne. I'm reading here that you what is exactly your job there? What do you do there? The IT
Uh,
Foundation Project Director.
yes. So I've had many jobs throughout my time. I initially was I played poker professionally for 4 years
No way.
for yeah, for an income, and then I got engaged, and my wife said, "Hey, you need to get a real job." And so I gave that up and got into fitness. So I was a personal trainer for some time, and then also uh, I kind of my body really started to kind of give out on me. I've got a medical condition where I can't walk that well, and I've got like chronic arthritis, and so I had to give up the personal training and got back into what I used to know, which was IT. And basically, I started managing projects. I worked at the Australian Formula One, so I worked there as implementing all the IT for the Formula One and MotoGP when they were in town. And then from that, I went and moved to the University of Melbourne and managing and implementing their IT projects. So, if they want to put in a new data center or implement a new IT system, myself and my team are the people that do it. And I've been there for 10 years now, and now I kind of manage the managers, so to speak. I feel like I'm not actually doing anything, I'm just talking to people all the time. Yeah, we implement about $120 million worth of IT projects a year at the university. So yeah, I do that on the side to my main role. But no, that's what I do day in day out. But I feel like I do more RC than anything else.
Interesting. You have a very interesting work history. Professional poker player. That blew my mind right there. I mean, not that I understand that there are professional poker players. I've never played poker in my life, so I don't know. But I guess she was doing that just in Australia, or like was it an online thing, or what was that?
No, sorry, in Australia live. I also the last year that I did it, I went over to Las Vegas for 2 months and played in the World Series of Poker, and pretty much lived in Vegas for the 6 weeks that the World Series was on, and then come back home, and then that was the switch to get a real job after that. So that was kind of like my last hurrah. I negotiated that with my wife to say, hey,
Mhm.
if I'm going to stop playing, I need to go to Vegas. So yeah, that was it.
Interesting. And I know nothing about poker. I've absolutely nothing. Worked with Formula One teams, or I worked with the Australian Formula One team. That's fun as well. Pretty awesome. I think I like the second person that I've met that has done that. I met a guy who, when I was doing my firefighter training in the UK, back in 2004, Darren Norton. He was a personal trainer for McLaren for Kimi Räikkönen and David Coulthard.
Oh wow.
So yeah.
That
So
that would
he
be
actually
fun.
he said Coulthard was cool, Kimi Räikkönen was a pain in the ass. So
Yeah,
it's all good.
yeah.
All
I've
right.
had the pleasure of meeting both of them before, and I understand how we could come to that conclusion. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. But you have been the team manager now for quite some time there in Australia. You have some very I know Ray Monday comes from Australia as well.
Mhm.
I've known about Ray Monday from years. He's always been one of the guys doing a lot of technical help. I remember if I remember correctly, he had his own website or still does, or used to be very
Yeah.
active on a website. So, and I know basically you also have two of the best drivers in Australia. You have the young man that we talked about. He's not young that much, not that young no more, but he's getting older. He's in his 20s, which is you have let's go 10. So you have Lachlan Donnelly, who's very
Mhm.
fast and probably a dark horse to win this. And
Yep.
then of course you have Bernard Zek, who I've heard a lot about from the 8 skill side of things. Uh very fast young man. Wish he would come to America. I know he's only been like once. I know it's very difficult for you guys to come there, but in Australia, he is probably the fastest 8 scale driver, or one of, if not the fastest there. Next to, I mean, he was beating Kyle McBride, over the last few years, and probably one of the reasons why Kyle McBride is retired now, among other things. And to be honest, I feel that Kyle McBride was your best uh, product of a
Mhm.
racer internationally, because he performed internationally, both 10 scale as well as 8 scale. It's a shame because he's still young and I think he had so much potential, but he had to get out of Australia, right? I always said that.
Yeah, Kyle was he has this ability, and I think he made the world's A main in 2010.
Mhm.
When he was 14 years old, no one knew who he was then. He decided he was going to run a bit of 1/10 scale, and then he won the open class at the Ready race. Um, he decided he was going to attend a 1/10 Worlds, and he made the A main in two drive at the Worlds in China. And he's made, I think, 4 or 5 1/8 scale
Mhm.
A mains. As far as natural talent, he had everything, and all I think he needed was a couch to sleep on in the US, and he probably would have still been racing as a career now, and potentially world champion.
I would agree with that. I think when he moved from Kyosho to Associated, I was like, this kid needs to go to California. And that was in California was like, it is still the Mecca, but like that was when it was like you had to go to California. And
Mm.
I was like, man, why is he not there? But I don't know the whole situation. It's unfortunate to not see him. He's had a very tumultuous last few years, jumping around a lot of chassis, all that stuff. I think just trying to whoever's going to give him some free stuff, whoever's going to pay him, and it's unfortunate. It would have been nice to see him really have a go at it outside of Australia. Not saying that you guys don't have fast guys there, but you get to a level there and you have to continue to push yourself and you have to go around and race around the best. But he reached that level with the best in Australia, and then you kind of don't go no further. And Asia at that time was Asia Asian whole is just starting to come back into the 8 scale scene with and 10 scale scene with Kauki Kata. He's like the fast guy now, but it's been a lull in really fast Asian guys for quite some time. I would say since Hara, since Mata, since not Nato as well, but Nato never really. I don't think he reached off-road status like Hara did, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think racing in Asia it will only get you so far, and I think that's the same thing for any racing series. I mean, you look at in any formula of racing, whether it's cars or motorbikes, you have to leave your country at some stage. Unless you're living in the US or unless you're living in Europe, depending on what you want to get into, you need to leave because you'll only get to as good as the fastest guy where you live, right? It's the same, Oscar Piastri in Formula One wouldn't be where he is if he didn't go and make that trip over to Europe. Or, Jet and Hunter Lawrence wouldn't be where they were if they didn't go and move over to the US and dominate Supercross, right? So
Mhm.
I think whether it's RC or any type of competitive sport, you end up having to go where the competition is, and that's true for anything. You can only get to a certain level. Yeah, and it's unfortunate for us because we're on the other side of the world. So it's not like you can quickly go from you live in Europe and you can go and race in any country within a 2 or 3 hour flight. It's a 12 to 24-hour flight for us to get anywhere.
Yes, absolutely. Your home track, I would 100% agree with that. No, I'm not saying that there isn't some awesome racing in Australia. There's super V8 cars and all that type of stuff, and obviously have a very good motocross scene. I know he's not from Australia, but I'll use him as an example. SVG, who's now racing NASCAR, very good on road. He's from New Zealand. He's racing in the NASCAR series, and he's like really popular there. All right,
We'll claim him as Australian. We'll
you'll
claim
claim him as
SVG.
Australian.
Yeah. Yeah, he lived here for, like, 15 years. We'll claim him as
Okay,
Australian. No.
all right.
No, he's definitely New Zealand, and, yeah, his counterpart if you're not into NASCAR, watch IndyCar, that's Scott McLaughlin.
Mm,
Him and SVG used to race against each other all the time. They're both from New Zealand.
okay.
But yeah, they did what Kyle and what Alex and most others should do is go where you can, get better.
Absolutely. So I'm looking at your home track, which is Keilor Electric Off-Road Car Association. I don't know where this is located in Australia, but I'm assuming how far away is it from where the current worlds will be?
So I'm from Melbourne, in
Mhm.
Australia. So think of it as the southeast corner of the continent, and that's the kind of the bottom corner of it. Our weather here is kind of like say what you would have in San Francisco. Think of it
Mhm.
as that type of climate, that type of weather. Sydney, where the Worlds is about let's call it mm, close to 700-800 miles north. So pretty much if you were, it's the same flight for me to get to Sydney as it is for someone to get from LA to San Francisco. So yeah, we're down in the south there, so where it's a little bit cooler. But yeah, that's my home track. That's Keilor Electric Off-Road Car Association. That's where myself and Ray Monday, who you spoke about earlier, we're from there. Ray's a life member of the club and my best mate. But yeah, I know that track like the back of my hand. Spent way too many hours there.
Is this a oil track?
It's oil, yeah. So
Okay.
it's cooking oil, so like
Okay.
canola oil. Essentially, what a KFC or a McDonald's
Mhm.
would throw out is what gets tipped onto the track, and it's really, really good. We love it.
This is a big discussion right now in the USA with oil tracks, and I know England's been doing it for a while. I know you guys have been doing it for some time. My buddy Zach Ryan was the one from Pine Hills Dirt who was telling me all about it. I know that the Philippine Masters track is oil as well now, but there's a couple tracks. So I think when people don't understand when you oil a track, you have to oil it completely, right? And that the infield as well. There's a track. I was talking about it on my live show Monday. They're up in Pennsylvania. They're doing it. They seem to. It's a little smaller track, but I was just informed about another track up in Michigan named Novi, and obviously it's in Michigan, so they have a winter season as well. But their track looks like this. It's completely oiled, the whole infield, everything, and I assume is it similar? Like, do you guys got a way of running like ghost treads to slicks on this? Is tire wear very good as well?
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely, definitely.
mhm,
We up until we decided to put the committee there decided to put oil down around 2020 2021, and it was purely because all of the clubs here in Australia are committees. They're not businesses. It's people volunteering their time to run the track. And a natural clay track is, as you know, is very, very hard to maintain, especially if it's a public accessible facility. So the track can get torn up by people. So the club decided to put oil down purely as a way to maintain the track and to ensure that it stays the same all the time. And yeah, the result of that is obviously you see the surface is like black and shiny.
mhm,
But yeah, we went from having to run pin tires on the track to using what the team guys in the US would use, which is like an ellipse or a bar tire, and sauce as well, or goop. We would put TDK or those types of brands of sauce on the tires as well. So we've kind of got the traction level that they have in the US indoor racing, but
mhm.
it's outdoors.
Okay. Well, that's a great segue. I want to talk to you about 10 scale racing in Australia. Well, before we do that, I got to pay some bills. And one of those bills, our title sponsor, Mr. J Concepts. Thank you. He'll be in Australia. I think he leaves Friday. I was talking to Jason. And thank you to Jason and Allison for all their support. Thank you, J Concepts, for all your support. Also, a big shout out to High Tech Racing for their continued support. If you're looking for top tier performance and reliability in your RC setup, High Tech RCD has you covered with industry leading charges and service for both surface and air applications. Whether you're bashing, racing, or taking to the skies, High Tech's advanced technology delivers precision, power, and durability when you need it most. From high torque service to smart, efficient charging solutions, trust High Tech to keep you in control. High Tech, powering passion, elevating performance. Visit hightechrcd.com today. Let them know you heard about it on the No Name RC podcast. All right. So I am somewhat familiar with the 8-scale scene of Australia. First off, I want to reiterate. I think the average person doesn't honestly realize how big Australia is, right? It's about the size of the USA. And there's the East Coast, the West Coast. I think there's some South and North, but there's a big, vast middle part that's where the thylacine is, by the way. It's just a big, vast middle part of desert, I assume. But it's like a 5-hour flight or 6-hour flight from each side of the coast, from east to west. I don't know how much it is north to south, but I know there's like the East Coast side where I believe you're on, if we're looking at it in this way. And then we have the West Coast side, which is Perth, where we had the 2018 Worlds and whatnot. But I do know that you guys are like some of the last bastions of outdoor 10-scale racing going on. So maybe just familiarize myself and the people listening with the 10-scale scene there in Australia. I know you've had world championships. I think the last one was 1989. I think was the one with the tree.
Yeah, correct.
As well.
Yep.
I think Joe won that. Did he not?
Masami
won it. But yeah, maybe tell me a little bit about the 10-scale scene there in Australia, please.
Yeah, for sure. I think your description of how big Australia is correct. It's a 5-hour flight side to side and about a 4.5-5-hour flight north to south. So it's the size of North America. We are a continent with one country, Australia, but we only have a population of 27 million people. As opposed to something like the US, which is at 350, 360 million, something like that. Pretty much all of the land, let's call it an hour's drive inland, all the way around the country is uninhabitable because it's all just desert or forest or bush. So yeah, it's the coastlines are very, that's where we all live, along the coast and the beaches, and it's all desert in the middle where no one really lives unless you're into like farming and cattle and livestock, that type of stuff, kind of like what you would have in Texas. But the 10th scale scene here in Australia is kind of the first racing scene that we really had that was quite popular. When the Worlds were originally here about close to 35 years ago, nearly 40 years. 1/10 was the biggest class we had. We have anywhere from 3 to 5 main clubs or tracks in each state. So at the moment we have in my home state where we live, we've got 5 tracks, anywhere from 10 minutes to 6 hours drive from where I live. And each state has about the same. So, we've got 5 where I am. Sydney, where the Worlds is going to be. They have 3 main tracks, and St Ives, which is where the Worlds was in '89, is still there. They've put carpet down, but that tree that was in the middle of the track is still there. And then also as you kind of go up further north in Queensland, where like Zach Ryan and Ben Panic and all those guys kind of race 1/8 scale, and where Alex Benazik is from, they don't have a lot of 10th scale up there. Queensland, which is kind of like the northeast of Australia, is heavily 1/8 scale. They've got, I think, 5 tracks up there that are all 8 scale. For a period of time, we had, I think, 2 indoor tracks up in Queensland on the Gold Coast up there, but they since closed just due to real estate cost here is too expensive for an indoor track. It's just not financially viable. So we've got a lot of tracks in each kind of major city. So Perth has 2, South Australia has 2. So they're scattered across the country. I think we've probably got about 20 to 25 1/10 dedicated tracks around the country that race. It is all predominantly outdoor, and it is all the soil here in Australia is clay essentially. So not like a pottery clay or like the red clay you would get in say like Florida, but it's a river clay. It's quite dense and it has more sand in it than say what clay they would have at somewhere like SDRC or what the old OCRC clay used to be. So it's a lot more abrasive, and but that means that you get a really good black groove if you just do the old water and blow, water and blow. And yeah, so we're all outdoor. We're all, you have to go to the track with an Ogio full of tires because you'll start racing. You'll be on pin tires, and then you'll go to pin and ribs, and then usually at the end of the day, once the track kind of ramps up, you'll be on bar tires. So you need one of most compound and one of every tread pattern in the bag just in case. And yeah, that's what we do. It's exactly the same with 8 scale, but we do that on 10 scale races. So yeah, it's the one of the kind of last frontiers of really outdoor purist racing that was around in the 90s and what everyone grew up doing. We just never kind of went to that indoor scene just purely because it's not financially viable. All of our clubs are volunteer operated. There are no businesses that run tracks anymore. It's all hobby shops are hobby shops, and they usually don't have tracks. And if they do, they're usually like a mini Z track or something like that. They don't have a dedicated track. So yeah, our racing scene here is all outdoor. Yeah, imagine just racing 1/8 in the US, but you're racing a 10 scale car every time.
Interesting. Do you do stock and modified over there, or is it all modified?
No, we do stock and modified. We also do 21.5 as kind of like the junior or entry class.
Mm-hmm.
I think touring car do that quite a lot as well. But yeah, we have 21.5 stock and then mod. I would say that our scene here is heavily skewed towards modified racing. The scene isn't about competitive stock races, how it would be. It's kind of there's that kind of stigma around it that once you're good enough to drive a stock car and say you've won an event or something, it's like, hey, step up to modified now. It's that, hey, race what all the big boys are racing type thing. There really isn't a stock racing scene like that. It's more about the class progression, and then once you've got enough hairs on your chest, so to speak, you go and run modified with everyone else. I would say it's slightly different in touring car, but yeah, there's only a few people that race stock honestly because they just want to race it and or they have reasons to. Yeah, it's kind of like the UK, but they obviously don't have stock at all. They don't offer that as a class, but yeah, we do. But all the action's in mod.
Complete opposite of the USA. Complete opposite.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what the whole stock class was about, the progression, right?
Yeah.
But now in the USA, it's the stock class that keeps things afloat, right? It's amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at the racing category as a whole. So when I first started, I was in the brush days. It was, and I, you would have a 12 turn or 12 double, and that would be a modified motor that you'd put in your 2-wheel drive car. I honestly think a modern day 17.5 turn is about the same as what we were running in the early 2000s in modified. Just the speed that these, let's call them stock motors are producing now. I think stock is almost that perfect. It's almost the right speed. And 13.5 full drive, that's insanely fast now and almost too fast. I'd argue that putting a 4.5 turn to a 6.5 turn in a full drive these days you need to be insanely talented to get that around a track. I think a lot of people have lost sight of how fast those things actually go now. But yeah.
I have a question. So, being as mod is the most popular class, It's a lot of outdoor tracks. Are you guys running these low turn mod motors like a lot of these I mean, probably your track because it seems to have some good grip and whatnot. But my question would be, compared to carpet, compared to some of these grippy clay tracks in the States, are you running these low turn, super fast motors like the Americans and Europeans do?
On a couple tracks. So there's one track in South Australia that's AstroTurf. They've done what kind of Yatabe originally did, where they have a track and maintenance got too much, and they go and put AstroTurf over the track. Kind of like Robin Hood Raceway in the US as well. Oh, sorry, in the UK. Sorry. And they run the crazy low, 4.5 turn in your 4-wheel, 6 or 5.5 turn in your 2-wheel. But with the conditions here, you can have a motor like that. Now tracks are big enough to justify that, but you don't have the grip. So it's like the same in 1/8 scale over in the US. You could put a really crazy low kV motor in your e-truggy or e-buggy, but you just don't have the grip to be able to use it. So with our racing here, it's more about, have a 8.5 turn in your 2-wheel and a 6.5 turn in your 4-wheel, and it's how smooth can you make the bottom end, and then have a really, really quick top end. So it feels like you've got a stock car down low, but it's modified at the top end. So it's all about that kind of mid to low band, instead of just let's throw a bunch of power at it because I've got the straights that we have here are roughly, let's call it, maybe 40 yards.
So that's like 120 feet.
Yeah,
125
really
feet,
long straights. Yeah. So, and that's just 10 scale. That's not 1/8 scale, right? So yeah, you need the power to move. Like how we have people have seen where the worlds will be. That's got a really long front straight. You need the power to get up and go on that, but you need the control down bottom to be able to get out of the corner.
Awesome. I was wondering that. So I guess before we move on to the worlds, it seems like you guys have a very, I forgot. Is that track still, there was an outdoor 10 scale track that used BMX. It looked like a BMX track. They used the same sealant that the BMX tracks use. Is that still around?
Absolutely. Yeah. Chargers RC there in
That's
Queensland.
what it was.
So there's one video that Team Associated Australia posted, and it's the best video that we've ever had posted for views. I think, we had a 5-minute video or a 3-minute video, and it got over, I think, 300,000 or 400,000 views. And it was of Chris Sturdy going around that track. It's a surface called SIC surface, SIC, and it's a BMX sealant. So it's like, think of it as running on maybe 500 grit sandpaper. So it's that style of track that they would use for BMX, like pump tracks and things like that. So that
Yes.
track is.
I remember when I first saw this, I was like, oh, wow, that's amazing. All right. Well, you sent me the link here for Chargers RC. We're going to add this to the stage so people can have a view of what we're actually talking about. And this was on, let me make this bigger. So there you can see, ooh, I like those dots.
Yep, those little turtle shell dots there.
And what type of tires are guys running on this surface?
So they're like a long wear, kind of like clay compound. So if it was like the J Concepts, it'd be like an Aqua 2 or an A2, like a bar tire, a very, very, very firm tire, because you're literally running on sandpaper. You have to run on the bottom of this car here on the front and rear. There's steel skid plates underneath, so it doesn't wear your chassis down.
You know what this is like? This is like where the e-buggy worlds was.
Exactly the same, yeah. So if you want to have fun and it's kind of late in the day, you put titanium screws underneath your car and you start getting sparks out the back of it.
Awesome. So you guys have quite the variety of tracks. There are no indoor tracks though. Well, is there any indoor tracks at all or just nothing?
There's one that is actually that surface, but on an indoor track. But it's like a 10-second lap. It's not there's no tracks that we race at that are indoors. There is some on-road kind of covered tracks, but they're not completely indoor. They're kind of like an indoor-outdoor track.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it seems you have a very, very healthy 10 scale scene there.
Very
Very
healthy. It's our biggest scene that we have at the moment. If you wind the clock back to say when the 1/8 Worlds was here, 1/8 was massive. And then ever since that happened, that kind of died down. COVID happened and all of that. And now that the 10th scale Worlds are here, 10th has kind of grown to be the biggest and healthiest scene at the moment.
Absolutely. All right. Great segue. Brought to you, we're going to talk about this. Brought to you by Side Piece Racing and Latera Racing, the Worlds, very anticipated Worlds. Elevate your RC experience with SidePieceRacing.com, North America's exclusive distributor of top-tier brands like Awesomatics, Rocher, Wild Turbofan, Montec Racing, Corsatec, Phoenix Racing, and Real Speed. I'm wondering if we're going to see any Real Speed cars there at the Worlds. Whether you're seeking precision engineered car kits, high performance batteries, or aerodynamic bodies, we've got you covered. Enjoy fast shipping, exceptional customer service, ensuring that you get the best gear when you need it. Visit sidepieceracing.com, race ahead of the competition, let them know you heard about it on the No Name RC podcast. Step up your RC racing with Latera Racing, our good friends there in Sweden. One of their premier hobby shops and tracks dedicated to racers by racers, featuring top brands like X-Ray Hobby Wing, Zoo Racing, and Team Coyote. They provide everything you need from precision chassis to high-performance electronics. Whether you're at the track or upgrading your setup, Latera Racing caters to racers who demand the best. Visit latera.se or stop by our shop for the ultimate RC experience. Links for that in the written description of the podcast. All right. So I have, in my opinion, I think this is probably going to be one of the last Worlds we see outdoors on this type of dirt. I'm just being realistic with you. When I heard that this was going to be in Australia at this type of track, I was really excited. I've really gotten into 10 scale over the last 2 years. Obviously, I've been doing a lot of 10 scale races with the INS, carpet championships, Masters of Dirt, stuff like that. So I have really come to, I used to be the biggest 10 scale hater, but I have become a big stock fan. I've become a big 10 scale fan. I enjoy it. I enjoy the quick 5-minute races. And so I have become a fan of 10 scale over the last years. Not saying I wasn't before, but I have become a much bigger fan of it. So when I heard about this, I'm actually kicking myself in the ass because I'm not there and I'm not coming on there. And so many people have been like, you're not coming. Even Rona was like, it's not too late. And this was like about a month ago. He's like, it's not too late. You could go try and get some money. I'm like, no, I have to stay home. I have work to do here before I go to America. It would have been just too much, right? Too much on the road. But man, I guess let's start from the beginning. When it was announced there at Hobby Action, I assumed that the 10 scale Australian 10 scale community was very happy to hear this happen. So maybe tell us about your feelings and how it all worked out for you, because you have some. You said, I'm reading your notes here. You said the owner of Hills was actually at Hobby Action, right? Visiting or to watch, but obviously probably putting things into play to get this awesome event. So maybe talk about how you felt and how the 10 scale community felt about finally getting a Worlds back since 1989. 10 scale Worlds.
Yeah. It was really interesting at Hobby Action, right? Because, we had not just the current president of the Hills Club there. We also had the kind of our section, so the blocks that we have in IFMAR. So you've got Raw, FAMAR, EFRA, basically the blocks. And we had our FEMCA kind of block lead there, and so we're all thinking, we know that it was going to come to FEMCA, but is it potentially going to come to Australia? And then we saw, the current president of the club of Hills turned up there to support some of the other races, but it was more, basically checking it out. How does it run? What are the procedures? All of that type of stuff. So we all kind of got the inkling that it was going to come to Australia, and then obviously the process was, once it gets announced that Australia is going to host it, then they had to put that out to a number of clubs. But you know, you didn't have to be the smartest person in the room to connect the dots to say, okay, it was going to go to a club in Sydney because it's the largest city in the country. It's the most tourist heavy city. It's the easiest to get to, all that type of stuff. So when they announced it was coming to Australia, they only announced Australia. They didn't announce the club that was going to host it. But all of us kind of knew. And just that the general excitement from everyone at the dinner that they have at the end of every Worlds, the gala dinner, presentation dinner, everyone was super excited. And, you had people go, if I could, I'd book my ticket now type thing. And everyone was that same thing that you were saying. Everyone was really excited to get out to race on old school tracks of how it used to be. And I think we've been teased in the past with some worlds. Like if you look all the way back to, we had Vaasa, which was, to me, what I class as the last real tent scale outdoor worlds that was purpose tent scale built, that how everyone kind of remembers tent scale being. After that you had Amonut in 2013, but that was a sugar track, and it was kind of in that time where people were going to mid motor and rear mount, and it was that kind of the sugar worlds essentially. So it was a bit different. But yeah, you see like Vaasa here, it's that kind of clay, dirt, there's a groove, they're on pin tires, that type of racing, that's the type of what we see as outdoor 1/10 racing. And I think that's what a lot of the world remembers as outdoor 1/10 racing. So we've had a kind of weird mishmash of races since then. We had Amonut, which was on sugar. We then in 2015 they announced Yatabe as the host of the Worlds, and everyone was so excited to go race at Yatabe. And then they said, "Oh, by the way, it's going to be on Astro," and everyone was like, "Oh, really? We're going to Yatabe," and it, ended up being on Astro. We then went to China, which was outdoors, but on a 1/8 scale track with jumps that were designed to go both ways. And it was, we were running on a tire. It was heavily sugared as well. And we were running on tires that really weren't for that surface. And then in 2019, we went to Hudi Arena, which, the X-Rays facility. We were running on a whole shot and it had zero grip. You could not accelerate to save your life. Like they just had the Euros there recently, and that was on a bar tire, which was the right tire for the track. But we were there running on pins, and it was really hard to get around. And then you look at hobby action, everyone was super excited to go over there, but it ended up being on slicks, but with no sauce. And that's not really how slicks are designed to work. So we've really had this kind of, since 2011, these worlds that have kind of just been a little bit, it's either a 10th scale car not on a 10th scale track, or the right track, the wrong tire, or the wrong tire, the right track. So it kind of, everyone's kind of been really excited that, hey, we might be coming to a 10th scale built track on natural dirt, no artificial surfaces, on pin tires. It's that kind of last call out to, hey, this is outdoors. This is racing what it used to be. Yeah, we're looking at Amonut here.
Mm-hmm.
This was the sugar track. I think there was thousands and thousands of pounds of sugar put into this track. I mean, they had a lot of challenges with rain as well, and they were putting, if you got a blowtorch out on the track, you could make it into a creme brulee. It was it was one of those tracks that you could if you licked it, it'd be sweet.
Yeah, I think
So
I would have to agree there, even though I think this track's badass.
they're
Stephen
amazing.
Hartson, Hartson won 4-wheel drive and then went into oblivion, and Tebow won 2-wheel drive, if I'm not mistaken. Yatabe, I have to agree, was kind of, I was shocked that they put it on AstroTurf. Rivkin won 2-wheel drive, Bruno won 4-wheel drive. Then, of course, we went to China where Mayfield won both, and that was also another race where they had rain and whatnot. And it was a huge track, humongous track.
Yeah,
I would have to
that
agree.
was a
Sorry, go ahead.
that was an 8 scale track that honestly, they just kind of kept it 8 scale size and said, okay, we'll deal with it. But we got there and the track was sugared, and then it rained, and it rained from the not confirmed, but the government there was doing cloud seeding. They're very big on cloud seeding. They knew the event was on, and it wasn't forecast to rain, and it rained heavily for like a day. And yeah, it just turned the track and the tires into it was really hard to get around. If you watch the A mains, every single driver in that A main crashes once minimum. It was who could hang on. It was one of those tracks where you could not breathe because you were anticipating the car flying off the track. And it was also this really weird setup where there's such a massive driver stand. The driver stand's about 30, 40 meters tall. Out the
Mhm.
back there, we were getting crazy amounts of wind. And so there's one
Mm.
race where I think we're on Testman here, right? There's one race where up the back, he goes off a jump and his car blows off the track. And you go,
Mm.
what happened? And it was because there was crazy amounts of wind that weren't being felt on the driver's stand, but because the track was so far away, you couldn't feel it. So yeah, it was a real strange world in China. But again, we were having weird things where inserts were snapping. So like I think it was like a sweep control tire, the inserts would snap. And so you'd waste a run. Yeah, it was just a very strange one. And they just reversed the layout but didn't change the jumps. So you had people like guys like Ryan Mayfield there was a section where it was double, 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 and he was going single, 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 because you just couldn't do them for 5 minutes. So yeah, everyone kind of has deleted that one out of the memory bank. And I mean, all the kudos to Ryan for getting it done there. He just he schooled everyone at that event because he knew what was needed to be done for that type of track. And I think that's where, it showed. He dominated there.
Yes, his only 2 world championships too. That's what people don't realize. He out of the 3 guys that we talk about quite a lot, that came up in that time, he is the only one. Tebow has multiple world championships. Cav has the most, I believe. And I'm trying to find a video here of here we go, from RC Racing TV. So that was so far his only 2 world championships for Ryan Mayfield. And he was on
And the
Yokomo at the time, I do believe.
and the interesting part about it is that before the event, like if you watch all the live streams, all the everything, he was like, this is, like, this is silly. It's not 1/10 scale. Why are we all here racing? It's stupid. And then he ends up winning the event. And it's kind of like, it was perfect. It was like, yeah. And then, yeah, we're here at Hootie Arena, the worlds that, Spencer did amazing in 2-wheel drive. And, you know,
Coelho.
uh, Quello happened to win the worlds when really, honestly, Fenn should have won. And yeah, it was real strange. We were on hole shots, and the track there is a 1/8 scale track with 1/8 scale lane widths and everything like that. And the layout they had, it's actually the same layout that they did for the Euros that were just there recently. It's almost exactly the same. But the tire had 0 grip. You had, I think, and Fen can probably correct me here, but like there were guys in 4 drive that had 9.5 turns in their 4-wheel just with a whole lot of turbo in them because you couldn't get out of the corner. It was that slippery. Um, it was just one of those weird worlds. When we got there, we weren't allowed to go on the driver's stand to look at the track for some reason. So when the first time we all went on the driver's stand was for practice 1. It was they had all the pitting set out in country. So usually when you're at a Worlds, it's by team, and they had all the pits by country, except if you ran X-ray, then all the X-ray guys all pit together, and then all the international pits had to pit by country. So like Associated and Yokomo and all that, they couldn't pit together. We were all pit in, Australia, America, those types of things. So it was a bit of a weird Worlds as well in that regard. That was a case of right, 8 scale track on the wrong tire, where China was 8 scale track on maybe the right tire, but it was pretty terrible. And then you go to 2023 in hobby action, that was, the right track, kind of the right tire, but not the right treatment. To be honest, we all should have been probably on a silver ellipse or something like that with a bit of tread, because we were all doing donuts. Like those guys that put on a show there at hobby action, the driving that this top 10 were doing, it was exceptional to watch. As someone there who, I finished in like the Z main, and yeah, I can tell you now that these guys that are getting around at the moment, there's next to no grip on these cars. We were doing everything we could to get them to drive straight. That's where Tater got lucky and Spencer marshaled him. But yeah, this was a case of, and Spencer will say this, that, everyone put in the work. I went to the warm-ups. We actually went there twice beforehand, and the track was never like this. It was because at all the warm-ups, they had other people running J Concepts tires with Source, and there was never an event that we went to that was a new track with no Source. So yeah, I honestly believe since Vaasa, we've really had a Worlds that's always kind of had a little bit of an asterisk next to it. And I think we can say honestly, coming into the Australian Worlds, it is a level playing field. It will be the right track on the right tire. There's no weird. It's not owned by a company. It's not, there's nothing kind of that anyone could argue that someone has an advantage over the next person. The only people that have an advantage are those that have put in the work. And yeah, so I and everyone that I've spoken to is super excited about this event, and excited to see who wins, and what are the storylines that we have. And yeah, it's there's been a lot of build up, man. There's been so much build up.
There has definitely been a lot of build up. I mean, people would argue that there is some home team advantage with Lachlan Donnelly, but we're going to get into that. But I get your point about each of those Worlds since Vaasa having some sort of issues. If I remember, man, the 2019 Worlds, watching two-wheel drive, those guys look like they would drive like one little movement and they would have just wiped out because there was no traction, like driving on a razor's edge through that. And then, of course, at the last Worlds at Hobby Action, we had the running out of tires things, which is something that I think we should stop as well. I think we shouldn't have unlimited amount of tires. I think we should have a spec amount of tires, because that's a whole other argument. But the hobby shop has to make money off the tire sales. But you eliminate the fact of having spec tires if you can pretty much, I mean, not eliminate, but you kind of go against the whole, we're trying to save money and not spend a whole bunch of money on tires if you have unlimited amounts. But
yeah. We're the only racing series around the world, mind you, that doesn't have that. Like if you go to any level of go-karting, open wheel racing, anything, they have a spec tire. They have a control quantity. The racing series that everyone's loving at the moment is Formula One.
Mm-hmm.
They have a set amount of tires that they can run, and that's there for a reason, right? Hobby Action was that, even though there was that controversy around the tires, and Larry did an amazing job there. I was there when it was happening. People online were blowing it up to more than what it was actually. What it was. We were all there at the event going, there's not a problem, we'll work it out. Everyone will get the right amount of tires and everything's fine. And it become a keyboard warrior. It blew up on the internet, but actually at the event, we're all pretty good. But
I said
we
something.
yeah, well, we made it work. We were there. Like I gave half of my tires to the Hall brothers.
Mhm.
Like we were at a point where we did all of it. We mounted tires and glued them, and we're giving mounted and glued tires to other people that didn't have any, right? So, but I think then the industry really missed an opportunity here to say, "Hey, let's not have this happen again. Let's
Yes,
do
I agree.
let's put in a I don't know, something crazy like you can only buy 5 pairs of tires for this class." Like I it's one of my bugbears that I have, but I understand from the commercial side of things. There's a lot of companies competing for it and all of that, but there's a lot of companies competing to be the lead tire of Formula One. How much of Pirelli, and how much would Bridgestone or someone like that love to be the sole supplier of Formula One tires? It's this thing happens in the real world, so it's
Mhm.
not like we're unique compared to any other racing series.
The
Um, yeah,
RCGP had for their RC2 class, they had a spec tire, and you had a limited amount. You can only buy 4 sets,
yeah,
right? And if you made the A final, you could buy another set. And you know what? Most people didn't even use all 4 sets.
yeah. Yeah,
So,
I know I'll get a lot of comments about it, but I honestly think that as any racing series, as any event organizer or anything like that, we have an obligation to control costs. And in a world where we're trying to save money and economically things aren't well,
mhm.
how can we directly impact people spending money? And that is, you can put control quantity of tires in, you can make it more economical, and just fall in line with whatever every other racing series does around the world, and it works.
Not
But
only that,
yeah,
the point of the spec tire is that everybody's on the same tire, right? Which you are. But that person could have potentially a better set of tires because he has more. So it kind of eliminates that to an extent. But we have to figure out how these tracks can make more money. They don't have to rely on selling 50 sets of tires to one person, and it's fairer for everybody. And it's about time we have it. I know there's a big push for a spec tire in 8 scale. I'm I like it. I'm on the fence. I have a different thought pattern about it. I think we have a great opportunity to have an amateur and a professional series. I like to see the professional guys on any tire possible. But then you talk to some of the professional guys, they want to be on a spec tire as well, right?
yeah,
To keep it fair. But it's a lot of arguments. But we're talking about a part of a company. We're talking about something that has a spec tire, but then has no limit on the amount of tires you can buy. So it just kind of, it's like pissing in the wind almost, right?
yeah, yeah. It's a,
So
it's a deck chair off the Titanic. Um, you know,
good. All right. Well, that's a great segue. uh, we're being as we're talking about tires. Let's keep it on tires. We'll get into the track and all that type of stuff. The control tire for this race is the Raw Speed. Well, it is the Raw Speed. Do we have it here? It's
Superman.
similar to a whole shot tire, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's the raw speed whole shot
Mhm.
pin tire. That's it's a pin tire. It's a whole shot. It's a sprinter. It's a
Mhm.
whatever the versions are around the different companies. Um, with an open cell foam, which is something we haven't had for a while.
I haven't seen open cell for so long,
Yeah,
and I like that's is it to cut costs? Why was it done? Does that
it is.
cost go to the racer in the end? That's
Yeah,
another question.
it was decided to run open cell one because for outdoor conditions, using a pin tire, sometimes open cell can generate more grip, but also it's more economical for the racer. We're not
Okay.
charging them $30 or $40 for a pair of tires because the open cell in there costs $8 to $10 as a part of it. The foam can directly, by choosing an open or closed cell, there
Mhm.
was a cost difference. And I
Okay.
know that the club and the organization made the decision on that to help out the racer's pocket as well.
I'm happy with that. Now it's so in two-wheel drive, it's the pin tire. Is it open tire on the front for two-wheel drive?
open tire on the front. I think we missed a trick there to say, hey, let's propose to put a controlled two-wheel drive front tire, because what it will become is who's on the right front tire or not. There's that next competitive edge, because everyone, if you don't have a controlled tire, what ends up happening is everyone will buy the control amount of tires they can, and then they'll turn up with a Ogio full of front tires in two-wheel.
What would be the ideal front? If you was to put a controlled tire for the front, what would it be? Would it be rib or pin?
It would be a pin.
Okay. So what if we see something like we saw at the Euros, where the guys were running the four-wheel drive fronts on their two-wheel drive, and then we won't see this at the Worlds, but X-Ray kind of didn't sell the four-wheel drive fronts until it was time to sell them to the four-wheel drive racers, right? But I agree. Why not just have a all-around, back, front and back, just have it like just do it, right? And I assume
it's an old rule. It's
Yeah.
an old rule based on you must control every driven wheel, but I can tell you that having the wrong tire on the front of the two-wheel can make as much difference as having the right tire on the back. So, yeah.
And I think so a lot of people, I have one question asked, is the Ross new? Well, obviously, I just interviewed the new owner of Ross B, which is AJ Schumacher. He just purchased it, which I was very shocked about. That's show number 331. One of the questions was, will he be there? And no, he's not, because you guys have a dealer there, and Ross Speed. I think is it not Ari Bakala who is the dealer there? So, and he's also a X-ray driver. So I'm sorry, we just talked about X-ray and Raw Speed. And Ari's not no slouch. He's a very good racer, by the way. He's from South Africa, I do believe, originally.
He's from Australia.
Is he? I could have swore they said he's from South Africa originally. Someone told me that.
That's Jared Mint.
Oh, is it Jared Mint? I apologize, Ari.
Yeah.
I apologize, Ari.
Yeah. He runs the business, or used to run the business that imported X-Ray and Proline, and then became X-Ray and Raw Speed. Hobby used to be a importer, sold that business, and now he got back into it after a while because figured out retiring at 40 something you get quite bored very quickly. So they went off and bought a hobby shop, and he's back in the game again. World class racer, really fast. And in the videos that people will have seen, he's right there. I think at the warm-up, which was earlier in the year, he TQ'd round 1 of two-wheel drive.
I actually have that pulled up here, so we'll
pretty quick.
We'll have a look at it.
Yes, he's the company that he worked for and used to own is the importer of Raw Speed. Yeah.
So what about tire wear on this type of surface, right? It's and temperature. Well, it's going to be summertime for you guys, I think, because you guys are reversed from us, right?
So, springtime for us.
Springtime.
Yeah.
What do you think about the tire wear for this type of track? Is it going to be high? Is it going to be low?
I think that's the question that we're all asking, because we went there for. I mean, we've all been there. When I say we, I mean, a certain group of people and the locals and anyone who's come over here for testing as well. The tire wear varies depending on the current temperature and how the track is acting. So say at the national championships, which is Spencer and Chase Lemieux came over for, which was around this time last year, tire wear was pretty good. You were getting 3 to 4 runs out of a set of tires, and they were getting quicker as they wore. And new tires were terrible. But then when we had the warm up, where all of the brands came, Bayer came over for X-Ray and Tris came over for Schumacher, new tires were acceptable. And then once they really lost a bit of their tread, you had no grip, because the track wasn't evolving, wasn't generating a groove as quick. So you needed a sharper pin. So it's really hard to say definitively what the wear will be like, but say this is like this is two-wheel
drive modified Q1. This is one Ari
Q1, yeah. So what happens is the track actually starts really damp. You see, it's quite for the online people watching or those listening on podcast, it's quite a damp track. You can see if cars go off the groove, they leave tire marks because it's quite tacky. And at the end of the run, your tires end up packing up with clay, and you end up having to go and get all the clay off your tires. So it's really strange. A brand new tire here it's not really good. But when you're getting that amount of pickup, any tire starts to, be acceptable once it's packed up a lot. But yeah, the track goes through these weird phases where we can't say whether it's, and I've got to, there's certain things I can and I can't say given my vested interest in the event. But yeah, there's times where a used tire is quicker and there's time where a new tire is quicker. In what we're watching here, I don't think it really matters because you're getting so much pickup on the tire itself. But I anticipate in two-wheel drive, you could probably get 4 runs out of a pair of tires. And in four-wheel drive, I would even think potentially we might see people go on the front tire, maybe 1 or 2 pairs for the entire event.
Okay.
Because a worn tire on the front can act different to a new tire, and it just depends on how the clay is going to be. I think that's the other unknown with this tire is that the club's introduced all new dirt to the track as well, so we don't really know how the tire is going to act and how it's going to wear. We're going to have to kind of suck it and see.
So the dirt that they introduced, it's not the same, or did they get it from a different location, or what's the deal?
It's from the same area and it's the
Mhm.
same type of soil, but you just don't know. Like, you don't know if it has more sand in it or more rock in it. Like, it can be the same dirt, but it's not the same. Anyone who's built a track or, track owners will know that, dirt can be from the same area but not act the same. So I guess that's the unknown with it. But at the end of the day, it's clay. It's from the same type of area. It should act in the exact same fashion, but we just don't know.
Okay. What was the reasoning for bringing in more dirt? Did they want to do more obstacles, or what was it?
Essentially, they needed to do a new layout, and the amount of workable dirt that they had on the track, they would have had to have dig down too deep. So they needed to add material. Essentially, that layout had been in for something. And I'm speaking for the club here, and they'll probably correct me online. But they needed to introduce a new material because that layout had been in for so long that you start wearing it down, and because it's outdoors, you use blowers or brooms and all the dirt goes away, and eventually you end up losing all your surface, so they have to top it up.
Okay. All right. Also, I heard, can we talk about this? A little bit of controversy here with the tires is there's word going around that there's a new batch of control tires that the club has been provided with that are slightly different to the current tire being used. Maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
I've not seen them yet, and I know the club had their if you go to the Hills Facebook page, they posted they got the shipment of tires, and it's pallets of tires. I can't think of how many hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of tires there are there. But yeah, some of the things I'm hearing is that the tread looks slightly different. It's not a square cut; it's a bit more rounded. So I guess that's what happens with batches of tires. You can get different batch quality. We've all been to events where you're using the same tire, but out of the pack it looks slightly different to that one that's the same part number. Essentially, what we're hearing is that this tire is slightly different in the way the pin, how square cut the pin is, and yeah, and also the inserts may be slightly different depending on the size of them, that type of stuff. But yeah, I have heard that there's a little bit of difference into what we've been running to what's there. But again, it might mean everything. It may mean nothing.
Gotcha. But I could imagine everybody's taking this into account, right? It's a lot of hype around this. There was a lot of money spent on sending drivers over there to warm up for this. I mean, you look at that. I think there's been 2 of them. There was I know Fenn's been to one. Karap's been to one. I think Orlovsky's been to both, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe one. I know he's been to one.
Once. Yeah,
Mark Champlin has not
over.
been to any of them, and he said he isn't worried about it. Going, and that we're not talking about cheap. We're not talking about like. First of all, we're not talking about cheap in cost to get there or cheap in time to get there as well. So, and I know even Spencer Rivkin has kind of. I've talked to him, and it's like I'm fully focused on 10 scale. He's not done a few 8 scale races just because it's fully focused on this. I know he wants some redemption from 2023, but and then of course we have the local Lacklin Donnelly, who has kicked ass at this race. And now, mind you, the track has been the same for a few years now. It's been switched up. Things can change, but Carap was very good there as well. I think we should get into racers and all that stuff in a little bit later because I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But what I would like to get into is the actual track change, what they've done different. They did put a video up. They put some pictures up of what they've been doing. Let me find. Oops, 1 second. The actual video. So they did do a walkabout of the track. Second, a very fast walkabout of the track. What have they actually changed on the track? Did they do a complete layout change? I was hoping for a whole picture of it. Let me see if I find one.
Yeah, there's if you go to their Facebook page, Hills Off-Road RC, they've got the track there. But for those listening on podcast, it's a dirt track with aggregate piping, so just piping for edges and grass infield. So and also concrete curbs. Essentially an old school type track where you've got a track cut into the land that is clay, edged by pipes, black piping, and then concrete curbings that are built there that are actually built to run up on. These curbs can be used to, like how you use them in any other type of racing where they have a curb. So they essentially change the entire layout. The track, and everyone says this, when you hear about, you had to be there to see, the elevation and things like that. With this track, you really have to be there to see the elevation. If you're standing on that pit lane down near the driver's stand, it's about a 6-foot rise up to the back of the track. So it's on a slope, kind of going back towards the driver's stand. Behind the driver's stand, there's actually a creek, kind of like a little river or creek back there. So everything slopes downwards. And so, yeah, they've rebuilt the entire track.
It looks beautiful
in a very short time. Yeah.
For one thing, I love concrete carbons. I think every track should have it. It makes for better racing. Just because you can get that car up there, if you get too much, you can flip over. You don't get people. One thing I hate is when somebody gets stuck on the point of some pipe, right? I really dislike that. Real racing, off-road racing does, but when you have this type of stuff, you have concrete carbon. I love all the turf inside of I love that too. I love when they have turf, or I would say I like painted infields when they last. Portugal has a painted infield, but they spray it with glue, so it lasts for quite some long time. But just an exceptionally beautiful looking track. It looks extremely huge from this picture, and they only treat it with water, correct?
So it depends. They do use a product called molasses in there as well. So molasses is a byproduct of when sugar is refined. So it's think of it as like a really thick kind of sludgy syrup. So it's not pure sugar, but it has kind of like sugar-like properties. But what it's used for, it's used in like mining sites to keep dust down on the roads and things like that. So it's kind of, they use it as a binding agent, not a generate grip thing. It's more for the it doesn't affect the traction. It doesn't make it suddenly crazy high. But they use that. They mix it with water. Kind of like it's a very heavy, like 10 parts water to 1 part molasses, if that. So they use that and just water the track, basically to get it so it grooves up quicker. But yeah, during the event, they usually just water it. But pre to the event, they use a little bit of molasses, so they have in the past. And then from that point on, it's usually just water.
And here you can see the old track layout that they had previously compared to the new one. So you can see it's quite a significant change. If you're watching this on the YouTubes, if you're listening to this, you're gonna have to come on over to the YouTubes and check it out, or go check out Hills RC on Facebook.
One thing I didn't really think of or appreciate is that those that can see this, so you can see all of the tents or the easy ups there next to the track. All racing here is like that. So at the end of the day, every day, it's take the tents down, pack up, and all of that. So when the US guys got here, they're like, "So we've got to pack up every day?"
Really?
And we're like, "Yeah.
Why is
That's what
that?
racing." So at the Worlds, they're going to have a proper marquee and everyone, and it's permanent and all of that. But racing here, you because it's that's in a parking lot next to a soccer field, so you wouldn't leave your stuff there at the end of the day. You have to pack up.
Got you.
So
Got you.
So yeah, I remember all the guys at the end of the event. They were like, "I am sick of packing up all my stuff," and I said, "It's okay, guys. When you come back, you'll have it's going to be a permanent tent and facility." But yeah, that's another fun part of one tent racing here. It's you've got that set up and pack up every day, which is not fun. But yeah,
Is that due to theft or due to they needed a parking for the soccer field or whatever?
it's just due to theft. Usually if it's not screwed down, you don't leave it there, right? That's you just don't want to leave stuff around because you just don't know. It's not like there's not high crime in the area. It's quite an affluent area that track is in. But yeah, you don't leave your stuff around. It would be like, say, someone going to the parking lot at Hot Rod Hobbies and just leaving all your kit there.
Okay.
You wouldn't do that. So,
Got you.
yeah.
One thing I didn't ask about was, how about when this track dries out? Because they're not going to water throughout the day, are they? They're going to water at the end of supposedly water every night. So what happens when this track dries out?
Yeah, so it goes through many phases. They usually water it quite heavily, so it starts damp during the day. And they're going to do a setup of where they have a blower at every second marshalling point, and you blow it after the end of your marshal. Same for most events in the US, right? But what happens is the track kind of goes through these distinct phases where it starts that really tacky, where you get tire pickup, and then it goes. It starts to get quite dusty as the track dries out. There's no groove, but it's still quite damp. So you get this really kind of slippery transition phase. So sometimes that first run can be grippier than run 2 and run 3. You can get to this really kind of weird transition phase where you haven't had enough traffic and there's not enough sun on it to dry the water up yet. So the track's still quite dark. So if you were to look at, say, like qualifying 2 or qualifying 3 of that event you had up before, the track's still dark, but it's starting to get light on the outside areas. And then once the sun's on it completely, the whole surface dries out. And that's when you start to get a groove and the rubber can start to be laid down. And so it goes from this, like the whole track's dark, to then it starts to dry out and only the center line is dark because that's the most wet and that's what cars are running on. And then once it goes completely dry, that's kind of when it seals off. And then you start to get a distinct groove. So if you were to look at like A3 of that event you had up before, there'll be like a groove in the middle of the track. And that's when the tire wears at its most, but also that's when grip's at its most. So you go through, usually if, say, like it was at the warm-up, you need a fastest time of day at the end of the run. A3 is almost always going to be the fastest.
Okay. My next question is, are they going to do any track maintenance throughout the day? Look, I'm all for fixing jumps. If they're blowing out, fix the jumps. I hate blowing out jumps, right? But I would love to see this get a little bit bumpy, form a natural type of I'm not saying I want moon craters, but what do you think? Are they going to fix it, or what's the plan?
My understanding, I think, and there's rule sets around this as well
Mhm.
in the IFMAR rules, but my understanding is that they're planning not to touch the track throughout the day. Essentially, they'll blow the dust off. Marshals will do that. Um, for safety reasons, they'll have to fix any pipes that come up or any big holes that open up. You can patch things, but my understanding is they're planning to let the track evolve naturally, and groove up and dry out and do what it needs to do. They only if they absolutely need to, like a jump falls apart for some reason, will they go and patch it? I think the plan is whatever happens from practice one to the end of the day, the track evolves naturally.
Sweet. I like that. You said bring up A3. Here's A3 of two-wheel drive modified. Uh, uh,
Yeah, so
and
you
you
can
could,
see, like,
yeah.
in turn one, there's that dark groove there. It's hard because a lot of people may not know, but this is in kind of like a national parkland. So the track is surrounded by dense bush, but
Mhm.
you are actually in the middle of the Sydney suburbs here. It's quite densely populated, but where this track is, it's in a recreational park. So there's a soccer field, a baseball field, and all of that, and nice walking tracks and all of that. So you see a lot of shade on the track because it's lined by big gum trees. Um, so yeah, it doesn't dry off as much. But yeah, if you're there it's fairly grooved
Yeah, I saw that.
on the
It definitely doesn't have it has a lot of tree cover, and
yeah.
you can see it's certain spots of the track are getting more sun than the other. So interesting, all interesting. All stuff you gotta factor in at these type of races, especially how they do qualifying and everything else. And it's gonna be interesting. Lots
Absolutely.
lots of racecraft. Lots of racecraft. All right. Let's pay some bills and let's get to some technical stuff that I know a lot of people like, and that is setup and developments that we expect to see here at the race. And that's brought to you by Techno RC and Dollar Hobbies.
Techno RC. Techno RC is a championship winning manufacturer of high performance A scale, 10 scale, nitro, and electric RC buggies and trucks. With a worldwide dealer network, USA and Europe based headquarters, comprehensive warranty program, and global race support, Techno RC is excellence in RC. View the full lineup of Techno RC race-proven vehicles by visiting www.technorc.com.
Thank you, Techno RC, for all your continued support. Also, a big shout out to Dollar Hobbies for their support as well. You can check out Dollar Hobbies. Use that 10% discount code, which I believe is Lefty. I'll bring it up here so you guys can have a look at it. And you save some money there at Dollar Hobbies. Thank you for all the support. That's right. Visit dollarhobbies with a Z.com. Use promo code Lefty and you save 10%. All righty then. So, you've been heavily involved in this. You've been there. You're the team associated team manager. And there's been a lot of talk about this because it's outdoor dirt, it's loose type of dirt. So people are wondering if it's going to be prototypes. Are we going to rear motor? All this type of stuff. So maybe you can touch on some key points, what drivers are doing, because we haven't. It's maybe in Europe they race on some stuff like this. I know you guys race on. Well, you guys have been racing on this stuff for a long time. So, yeah, maybe let's start with two-wheel drive. We got 3 gear versus 5 gear, laid on, lay back, stand up. What are people doing?
Yeah. I will say as much as I can without giving too much away. So I apologize if I seem vague in what I say, but I think it's fair to say that the the setup direction that the 1/10 scene is going at the moment is more geared towards the US style high grip and Euro style high grip tracks. So what we find ourselves having to do with these types of cars is try and drag them back more towards what it used to be, or kind of the key things that it used to be. Things like weight distribution. You know, you need a little bit more weight on the rear to generate grip. You know, you don't go run a gear diff in your two-wheel drive because you need a ball diff because it, you know, you're not on that much grip, that type of stuff. So what I would say is that where car development has moved on, and we're getting like the 3 gears and the 5 gears and the weight further forward, and we're making that work here on the outdoor surfaces. But you have to tackle it slightly different. And what we struggled with initially was, as the weight distribution of the cars keeps getting more further and more forward, you can't use as much weight to generate grip. So you have to do other things. So you end up having to throw the setup book at the car to do things, generate mechanical grip out of the car. How do you get the tire to grip the track? And without going full science mode on it, you have to look at things like, how far back can the battery go? Can you shorten the wheelbase of the car? Even things like how soft is too soft on your shocks, all of that type of stuff. You need a car that generates grip so it transfers weight quick and loads the tire to get you out of the corner. But then you don't need a car that's got that much weight on the rear end that when you go to get through the corner, it spins out because it's got a motor hanging off the rear end of it. So it's a very different world that we live in down here, and it's taken this world to happen here for really people to see, say, like the stuff that Raymonde and all of that is sharing, to see what we really do down here to generate grip. But yeah, I think what we will see at this Worlds is obviously two-wheel drive. It's an open front tire. There's that front tire game that will be played, no doubt. And then I have every faith that every manufacturer is going to come here with something that's not on the box, so to speak. That, whether it's a new part, prototype X, Y, Z, I don't know. I'm sure we'll see a lot of different things here. Will we see a rear motor? No. We've moved past that. Rear motor is never quicker on any of our tracks. We desperately tried to make them quicker, because the old vintage people and us who want to reminisce about the old days want rear motor to still work, but honestly, they're not. We can't get them. They're not as quick as the mid motor stuff. So I think we'll see some interesting things, and we might see stuff that will never ever be used again. Honestly, because some of this stuff won't translate to working in the US, say at trackside or, at Coyote or, in Europe.
How about if you saw like an old school layback, not old school, no, B5M or something like that?
I reminisce about the B5M. Yeah, I've got very good memories of that. So I know it would generate grip out of the corner. And but I think where something like that lacked, it doesn't have the steering and can't get through the corner as quick as the modern cars these days. So, but I know if you were to throw down one of my B5s that's around here, it would actually be pretty good. But lap time wise wouldn't, I would say someone who is got probably beginner to someone who's been racing for say 4 to 5 years, they would go quicker with it.
Okay,
definitely.
How about, are we going to see any are we going to see any upside down shocks?
I would be very surprised.
All right. How about 4-wheel drive? Gear diffs all around, steel or plastic drivetrains? What do you think is going to be successful here?
That one was an interesting one. We had it hobby action. Ongaro throws down a car that he built. He picked up from the hobby shop the day before, built it as kit with some setup on there from the team that but had pretty much the standard steel drivetrain in there and all of that stuff, and kicked everyone's butt. So there will be some interesting things. I think we'll see in four drive. What I will say is that given that it's a pin tire, it's very sensitive to your diff tuning. So I know everyone will have every single diff oil known to man, and will need to have multiple sets of diffs because of that track evolution that we were talking about earlier. We'll see people need to change the setup of their car the as the day goes on, because we're outdoors. It's not the track just evolving, it's the ambient temperature as well. So you might start at, say, 60 Fahrenheit or 15 Celsius, and at the middle part of the day it might get to 80 Fahrenheit or, what's that, 25 Celsius, something like that. So you've got a very big variance in ambient temperature. So all of your oils need to change as well. So what you have in the morning will be a completely different setup to what you have in the middle of the day, not just as the temperature changes, but as the track grips up as well. So full drive, what does that mean? It's diff oils, it's shock oils, it's things like that. So there will be a lot of thrashing in the pits, as opposed to what we would normally see, where you might add a 0.5 mil ball stud washer there or put a little bit more sauce there. It'll be a dump shock oil, dump diff oils, that type of stuff. Keep on top of the condition more than anything.
Outdoor racing, people want it. A lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot of work. In your notes here, you have Aero. So if Max was here, this would be a 1 hour spiel about Aero. So this is for Max and my good friend Larry LW4, because he's all into Aero as well. Excuse me. So here you said at the warm up, people were scrambling to get JC bodies. Which body in particular were they trying to get?
So all the photos of the cars going around the track were with the P2 body. So the body with the fin down the middle of it was the body to have. In the four drive mains, Aidan Horn was driving around with my color scheme because he didn't bring a body, so he ended up loaning him a spare body I had to run his car. But yeah, in that condition, so if you look at different body types, you've got the really high flow, the sleek ones that are for carpet racing, things like that. And then you've got the bodies that are for stability and downforce, and JC have the P2, which is all about stability and downforce, where they get out of that fin that they have in the middle. So you're not as affected by the wind. The car tracks a little bit straighter, and then you've got the downforce. So they've got some kind of pods at the back that ramp the aero up over the rear wing, that type of stuff. So body is a very big thing in outdoor racing, and aero is a big thing in outdoor racing because you are affected by the wind as much. So you need a body that's going to be predictable and isn't impacted by the wind as much. And you would say, okay, well, you put a sleek body on there, it's not going to be impacted by the wind as much. But what ends up happening is with those types of bodies, it ends up being impacted by the wind a lot. You'll get blown off jumps, that type of stuff. So you need a body that's actively forcing the car down and forcing the car to go straight. So yeah,
is
we'll
wind
see a
an
lot of
issue
that
at
stuff.
this track at all?
Yeah, it will be. You're in those videos and the photos, it's lined by a lot of trees, so you get a lot of natural, like a barrier. And because there's a large driver's stand, it's two big shipping containers on each other. You don't get as much wind, but you do get some. And it's generally in the direction of the jumps. They usually run left to right or right to left along the driver's stand, and that's where the wind usually affects you. So that it could become a thing for the event, and that's just another fun part of racing outdoors.
Okay. And also, you have here in your notes the 7-inch Illusion J Concepts wing. I'm going to bring up a picture of this as well because it has these big center fins, or I forget what the correct name is. We call them in, I mean, this is not unusual for 8 scale. We have these all the time. But
Yeah, the
in
stabilizing fins.
the stabilizing fin for 10 scale, it's obviously, well, it comes back to what we talked about, right? Outdoor racing. You guys are
Yeah.
probably familiar with using this type of stuff, whereas we don't see it as much in the USA at races that we go to because it's mostly indoor. But let me bring it up so people can have a look here. This is from Red RC. This is J Concepts even dropped a new one here, the 17th of 2020. Wow, around this time. So here we go. These big, giant center fins right here. So I assume most people will be running this type of wing.
The monster wing. Yeah,
Mhm.
so uh, shameless plug for J Concepts there. Well, not so shameless actually. They released this again or re-released it for this purpose. They still made this wing, but it was for another car. It was for the Bandit or something like
Mhm.
that. They just renamed it to something different. But the wing was originally made for the 2005 Worlds in Italy. And my old four drive I ran then still has that wing on it, and it is almost literally unchanged. So we're all running that wing there, which is even though it's the same 7-inch width, it doesn't have those kind of sleek cutouts in it, and step ups for to not catch as much air. It is unashamedly just a big scoop on the back of your car to generate as much grip and grab as much wind, air as possible. So they re-released this. They made some. I think you can see there near the tires. There's a little raise up there, so the tires don't foul the wing when the suspension's fully compressed. They didn't have that originally on the old ones. And yeah, they introduced the center fin. I remember having a chat with Jason. He's saying, "Oh, do you guys? No one uses these back home that much." And we're like, "We use them all the time. Like, we need them in outdoor racing." It's one. I think probably most of the J Concept sales of these center divider wings have probably all gone to Australia for the last 10 years. So yeah, they've re-released this just in time.
Awesome. How about front wings? What's your opinion on that? Will they play a factor in this race as well?
Usually, as the grip comes up,
Mhm.
front wing can become a good thing, um, particularly if it gets really bumpy as well. If you need to plant the front end down, sometimes some aero on the front of the car can. A lot of people think of front wings just to generate more front steering, but sometimes it can give more front end stability as well. And in the looser, kind of bumpier conditions, we use it as a tuning aid for that as well. But obviously, what it can do is take grip away from the rear. So I think we might see some people use it, and we definitely have once grip comes up, and you need to generate more steering. But I think if there's ever a worlds that we won't see one, it might be this one.
Okay. Makes sense. Interesting, interesting. Very interesting stuff there. And I was interested in the Aero. So it should be I forgot about the wind. I forgot about all that type of stuff of the outdoor type of racing. So it's gonna be interesting to see what people go with as well, gearbox wise. If there's gonna be some prototypes as well. I know a lot of hype was around the warm-ups because that's when we kind of saw the Schumacher four-wheel drive prototype coming out. The
Yeah.
associated prototype of the four-wheel drive, the 8.
Beautiful.
So I'm wondering if we're gonna see any one-off type prototype stuff there. I'm wondering if we
Uh,
might.
I think we will. It was funny when we got to the warm up. You could hear the new Schumacher car. You go, "That's not a belt car." You could hear it when you were at the event, right? So it was. There's definitely manufacturers that are turning up, and they've thrown everything at this event. You said earlier the cost of coming over. There's a reason that at the warm up Kyosho sent some people over. They had Fuma Sato over here as a driver plus a mechanic, doing some development. It wasn't their the ZX7 or whatever their four drive is. They were running a prototype car. Schumacher were running a prototype, their new car. Associated, we were obviously running our new 84. It's going to be a worlds where, back at the warm up, we saw a lot of prototypes and a lot of, cars that weren't on benches because it's the work that the teams are putting in. It's probably, I can't fathom how much they've spent to come over here, not just once, but twice or 3 times, and do all the R&D. This isn't a hobby action where Associated can chuck some stuff in the back of a van and go for an 8-hour, 5-hour drive down over to hobby action. This is a, $2,000-$3,000 ticket flight, for you and for all your drivers to come over and do all of that R&D. So every team has thrown the kitchen sink at this event, and I'm sure we'll see. Bayer was over here at the warm up, and then we had Fend and Ronnefeld come over for the second unofficial warm up. That they obviously tested stuff that the team who was originally here back at the first warm up come up with. Associated, we had Billy Hayden come over for the second warm up. So it's gonna be a really interesting world where we're gonna see platforms that we already know exist, like the new 4-wheel drive from Schumacher and Associated, but we'll probably see a new, X-Ray of Quiet. I think they've got some promotion out at the moment. They've got a new 2-wheel drive coming out, and they've got a new 4-wheel drive. But what will be interesting is maybe those cars won't be the cars that they actually release to the public, because they'll be so focused this track condition that they may remain prototypes. And
you bring up something that piqued my interest, was because I heard this a few months ago or earlier this year that Kyosho is coming back and not with their old platform. So you said there were some prototype cars, not their old platform. So maybe Kyosho's done what they needed to do to regroup and become a viable racing force again. Once again, their MP11 has a lot of hype around it. So I'm assuming we might see Kyosho getting back into the 10 scale market, which would be good because we need a couple of more companies getting into it, with TLR kind of backing out on the pro side. But interesting news. I'm very interested. Now I'm going to follow this Kyosho stuff a little bit more. Awesome. All right. Let's get into some predictions, and then we'll get into some questions. Predictions and who's going and who's not going is brought to you by ML Toys and Invisible Speed. If you are a hobby shop and you have people coming in asking for Power Wheels parts, check out ML Toys and become a service center for them, and you can be fixing these cars and making some money off it.
Are you looking to take your ride-on car to the next level? ML Toys makes it easy with plug-and-play modifications like motors, speed and brake controls, and more. ML Toys is the one-stop shop to make your ride-on car the coolest car in the neighborhood.
That's right, and we was geeking out on setup and all that stuff just now. If you wish to improve your setup knowledge, you can check out the Invisible Speed 2.0 book. Available links for that in the written description of this podcast. All right, Alex. So let's get into, I say we should say who's not coming, because I think the biggest shock of who's not coming to these two biggest shocks of who's not going to this race would be Taylor Sontag, who I have heard he is not going. I'm pretty much confirmed he's not going. And he is your reigning 2-wheel drive world champion. And I'm not too shocked about Cavallari, but I am shocked to an extent, because I was talking to him at Wicked Weekend. We might have got our worlds kind of mixed up, but I could have swore he said he was going to Australia. And then when Wheel and Trigger the other day, he said he's not going, and he's not on the list. And I think that is a little bit sad, because this ends a 4-time world champion. He's been to these world championships since he was 15 years old, and now he's not going. And the thing about it, he's not doing too bad at all in 10 scale at this time, right? He's still making A finals. He's still making, maybe if it isn't a top 5, just outside the top 5 in a lot of these races. But I think it comes down to budget, right? And is it worth sending him over there for 15 days and he might not make the main. And here's the thing about it. I would have loved to see Cavalieri race on this type of surface at, this is kind of what he, come on, like this is kind of what he grew up on, right? So I think for me, I think Cavalieri not going is more of a shame than Tater not going for me, because Tater hasn't had a really good time since the Worlds. He switched, obviously went from TLR. He's now running X-Ray. I don't know. I am shocked that Tater. I'm kind of shocked that Tater's not going, but I ain't. But I'm more shocked and disappointed about Cavalieri not going.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with obviously there's the Taylor side of things, him not coming and defending or trying to defend the world championship is amazing.
Yes.
I don't think a lot of people would have thought that. But the thing that really kind of hits hard to the guys that have been racing for such a long time, this is the first time since 2003 that when it is the official end of the Ryan and Tebow kind of triad of it was those guys. They were the definition of professional. They created the pro RC racer. They were the benchmark. Mayfield, Cavalieri, and Tebow, and we saw Mayfield and Cavalieri at the last Worlds. Mayfield won. He got into the main in two-wheel drive, and Cavalieri was in the main in two-wheel drive as well. And yeah, this is the first Worlds where we're not going to see any of those three guys there, and that's I think some people haven't really spoken about it, but it is that it feels like the turning of a page.
I
In
would say
some
so.
respects for Tenskow, it's sombering, but it's also there's people that have taken over that mantle. But yeah, it's the first in 20 years.
I would say so. And the thing is, I would say that Tebow isn't racing 10 scale. And then other people's like, what about Mayfield? Mayfield is not racing 10 scale. Even though I know he's signed to Schumacher, he has not raced any. But Cav has, right? And been very active in the 10 scale scene. So it's very shocking that he's not going to be there. I would also add that, while not shocking, disappointed that Bruno Coelho is not going to be there, but he's not doing any 10 scale at the moment. Your Newman is a bit of a shock.
Yeah.
So your Newman not coming is a bit disappointing. Miko Wiedemeyer, both accomplished 10 scale racers, but I think, to be honest, I think that comes down to, I don't think S-Works has a competitive car for this type of surface. They would probably just be running associated cars, well, a Frankenstein S-Works car. So I think that's it. And Martin Beyer, even though he won the Euros, and it would have been great to see him do this, I'm sure his focus will be on getting Ronnefalk and Fend and Schimmel, who I think are the three best X-Ray guys going to this, up to pace to win this. So I do understand that. But Tater out, big news. I think a lot of people think Tater's on the way out of his racing career. Who knows what's going to happen? If it's a shame, because he is a defending world champion. He is a world champion. You can't take that away from him. But yeah, I'm more upset about Cav not going. Because I was talking to Cav and I was like, dude, I think you can make the main. He's like, make the main? I want to do well. Like, I want to win this. Now, I don't know if he was talking about e-buggy. I think this might have been a recent thing that happened. I think they just decided, hey, it's going to cost us, I don't know, $5,000 to send you over there for 15 days. And he doesn't really have a 10 scale sponsor per se. He runs for WarmUps. So maybe they're like, hey, we could take that money and spend it sending you to more races around here. I know he's doing some on-road racing as well. So it's unfortunate. It's the end of an era, right? End of an era to an extent.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be people that, I think a lot of people assume that a lot of these guys, they have everything paid for them and, it's just a given. But there is that group there that are still contributing towards their travel, and they have to make choices of one, what the company will send them to, but also what they're willing to invest in themselves. You have someone say like Spencer, he invested heavily in coming over for our nationals.
Mhm.
And so there's not just that world that, everyone's getting paid to go over here and everyone's got a free plane ticket over and free accommodation, because there are a large group of people, the pros included, that are footing some of the bill
Yeah.
and or a large portion of it. And it's not cheap it isn't, it's an expensive plane ticket and accommodation and all that. It's a beautiful holiday, but it's a big investment. And for a company, they can say, well, I can send you to 5 races in the US and come out ahead instead of sending you over to Australia. I understand that as a, working in business. But also as a racer, the investment to come over, the time, the preparation, the mental kind of focus that you have to put in. It's not just the cost of going, it's the cost of preparation as well. So yeah, I
With
think
X-Ray, though, I'm not
it's a
surprised at that decision. I'm not surprised at the decision not to send Tater. X-Ray's decision not to send him, I'm not surprised with it. They're like, hey, we're sending Fenn, we're sending Runafalk, we're sending Schimmel. There's the 3 guys that are performing with our cars. We're sending them. I am not
Yeah.
surprised at all.
And you don't know how the setup is between X-Ray and then X-Ray RC America as
Exactly.
well, like probably different budget buckets and things like that. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Is
I don't know.
Zaleski going? The young Polish kid? I assume he's going.
I
don't have
Lefty, yeah. But
So maybe
Zaleski, yeah, he is.
So maybe spending money on that is worthwhile. But let's look at some of the racers. I wonder. You do have 2 drivers here that I do think need a mention. If there's one stock driver that I think can do well at this race, it's Nate Sutherland. Right? I really like the way Nate drives. He's very smooth. He's very, very smooth driver. So he can do well. Chad Dew. So I think Chad Dew and Sarah and their daughter are all going because Scotty's. I think they were telling me like Scotty's bringing them over because Scotty travels a lot, so he's got like lots of miles. So they're going more on a let's go do the world, let's do a vacation type of thing. So that's cool. I've seen Chad race quite a few times because I've done a few races there in the Southeast because they live in North Carolina now. So, and Scotty's daughter is no slouch either. She's good too. But Chad, dude, like he can put on some good laps when he wants to. He had a good battle with Schrimmel and Lee Setzer at one race I was going to. So that will be fun to see them.
Chad was an A main modified raw level racer. He was at the top, over in the US, probably around 2010 to 2013, 14, and then he kind of stopped racing as much. But yeah, he's kind of coming back on the scene recently, which is cool.
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
So
And Scotty's racing too, by the way.
Is he racing?
So he's entered to race. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah. Well, he does. So he's part of the media team to have by the way, the RC, the guys that do the media over there, Tony Firth, and all the guys that do the RC race media, they do a great job. And they have established a great team. I know they have Mitch and the Mike, so we have Scotty, an Australian, and Scott is doing the interviews from Action RC. He has a great podcast. He does great interviews. He does great write-ups too, by the way. So I'm expecting very good coverage from this because I know I'll be probably getting up and watching most of this in the morning because Pecco and I are doing daily live recaps of the Worlds. So
wow.
Yes. So we'll be doing them around right as we're talking now. It's about 10:20. We'll be doing them around this time every day. But let's get into some of the races that are attending that we think can do very well. Obviously, I think I don't think, but I know you're an associated guy. Spencer Rivkin has put a lot of time into this. He's looking for some redemption from Hobby Action. He was physically, mentally upset after losing their last year because that's his home track. And I've gotten to talk to Spencer a little bit more going to these races. I kind of get him now. He has traveled twice to Australia in the last 12 months, and I wouldn't be surprised if he paid for some of that himself. So he is a high favorite going into this. I will say this: he has not had the results I expected this year in 10 scale. I'm sure that he hasn't expected in 10 scale. So maybe he can get some redemption here. I'm just going to go through the names here, and then we'll just briefly touch on them. Marcus Carrop is probably one of my favorites that I have going in her. I really like Marcus. I've liked him since he won his first European Championships. He just recently pretty much dominated the first ever e-buggy World Championships as well. And he was very good here at the second warm-up, if I'm not mistaken. I think he won, if I'm not mistaken.
Almost won.
He almost won?
Drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mikhail Orlowski, man, you cannot. I have to agree with you here. He says best all-around driver. Then it was Hara. Then it was Bruno. We have to throw in Orlowski into this mix. He's able to drive anything, I think. I did talk to him at the 8-scale e-buggy worlds, and he seems like he's going for a little burnout. Kind of evident. I think the following he's been hitting it very hard. But I think he'll be good. I think the Schumacher four-wheel drive is very good as well. Orlowski is good. We're gonna come back to Lachlan Donnelly, the hometown hero. Ongaro, obviously, we can't count him out. He is the current four-wheel drive champion. I think out of all these guys, he has the least amount of pressure, even though he is a four-wheel drive champion, because he doesn't race this class at all, barely. He did the Euros, and that's about it. I have Brock Champlin high up on my list of thinking he can win one of these classes, because Brock's looking pretty solid right now from what I've been watching him. Horn, Dart is his favorite, so we'll see what he can do as well. Una Hotman, I like that pick. You can never rule out Una Hotman. He's very good. I have Fend and Ronnefolk. I think they can win or top 3. You'll see. Kobovic, another good choice. He was very good at the e-buggy Euros here. And Davey Bada, absolutely. I've never seen Davey Bada do outdoor dart, but he is a good racer. He needs to get a little bit more aggressive, in my opinion. One of my favorite racers, Tom Rindernick, as well. These guys, I know, the American guys have all been practicing on outdoor tracks here recently a lot.
And a lot of videos, yeah.
Yes. So they are taking it seriously. And of course, we have the local hero who I actually wouldn't mind winning one of these races. I think would be great for Australian RC, and just a great story. Lachlan Donnelly, who has beat these guys at this race. So he made the B mains, narrowly missed the B mains at Hobby Action, but I think he suffers from not able to travel as much like a lot of the Australians are. So still a good run, but man, wouldn't it be something if he won? I mean, the last 8-scale worlds we had in Australia, 2 Australians made it, Aaron Stringer and obviously Kyle McBride. So I don't really think he can make the main. I think he can win one of these, or at least top 3, both of them. So I don't know who to pick, but give us your thoughts on. I went through my thoughts on Rivkin, Karab. Give us your thoughts on those guys, and then we'll make some predictions.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll do the same thing as you and come back to Lachlan, because I've got a vested interest in Lachlan as well as the whole team here in Australia. But I think, yes, going back to Spencer, he's put in the time. He's focused on 1/10. He's actively said, I'm focusing on this at the moment. My goal is to be world champion. And I know that he's put his everything into it. And he is the current 2-wheel drive Australian national champion. So over here, international drivers can race our nationals. And so he came over and won 2-wheel drive at our nationals after doing 5 battery packs of practice. So I think Spencer's definitely up there, and anyone discounting him is not on the right planet, to be honest.
Okay. Maybe a little bit associated bias there, but I mean,
I'm openly
good.
biased.
He's very good.
I'm openly biased. Yeah. But Marcus Carrot, I mean, I will say I did pit for him when he was here, so was it the setup? Was it his driving? I don't know. I'm just going to pump myself up a little bit there, but no, he could, I guess I'll draw a comparison here where I saw Rivkin turn up do 5 battery packs, and then win the two-wheel drive national championship here, right? I saw Marcus turn up at the warm-up and almost win two-wheel drive after the same amount of practice, whereas everyone else took a little bit longer to get up and get going. So what I'm gauging my thought process off is how quickly did they hit the ground running and be competitive at the Lachlan Donnelly level. And Spencer did it, and Marcus did it, and Orlowski did it. They all those guys turned up and threw down at either the Nationals last year. Chase Lemieux was also there as well. He was getting close towards the end, but yeah, those three guys, the Rivkin, Carap, and Orlowski, they were there within several battery packs. The other guys that were here, they took a little bit to get going, but they got there. They got to that pace in the end. So I think it'll be a matter of who clicks with the track quick enough, and then also who gets the right setup going. But anyone to not bet against, anyone who doesn't put money on Carrot is again not hasn't been paying attention, because he's walking on water at the moment. Like, watching him drive, I mean, sure, he had Q1 at the e-buggy worlds, which was like a 40 something, but admittedly he just exploded off the track, right? So he just had a brain fart and a qualifier that didn't go his way, but after that he was perfect. And seeing him nearly win full drive at the warm-up, he should be I honestly think he will have gained another foot in height and confidence just by winning that Worlds. So he should turn up and just, I wouldn't be surprised if he leaves as a 3-time world champion.
Okay. What about Ongaro?
Yeah, he 3-time world champion, back to back to back. Then add a full drive world championship in there. He should. Again, he's another should just win, the entire event, right? He's one of those guys, and I haven't. It's very hard to put it into words, but watching him drive full drive at Hobby Action, there's no other driver that I've seen he has no amount of wheel spin or no amount of power or steering that he's wasted in his car. If he only needs to go 20% throttle, he's only going 20% throttle. He is amazing at driving to what's required of the car on the track. Whereas you look at someone like Champlin, he's very aggressive, he's got a lot of wheel spin, and he's very showy with what he does with the car. But Ongaro he drives the car within its absolute limit and makes it look effortless. And that's why he did so well at Hobby Action when it was low grip in full drive. When everyone else was wheel spinning, he wasn't. He was able to put the power down and get to it. Was that the stick radio? I don't know, but he's just an amazing driver. So I wouldn't be surprised if he holds on to his full drive world title again as well. He almost won two-wheel drive at Hootie. Look, he actually had the best looking two-wheel drive out of anyone at Audi Arena. Spencer won it because he drove smart and he qualified well, but Davide had a faster car. So I could see those guys just continuing to build. And I think, Rivkin, Carap, Orlowski, Champlin, Ongaro, those guys, you could throw a blanket over them and one of them will be world champion, and not discounting anyone else, but those are the guys with form, with that pedigree, and are already at that level.
Well, speaking of pedigree, let's tell me, because you've seen these guys at this track, tell me what you noticed about Fend and Ronefalk. I mean, Ronefalk is a world champion. You're multi-time European champion. Fend, arguably one of the best all-around racers in the world. But I haven't heard you say much about them. And they did not have the best warm-ups, if I remember correctly, the time they went.
Yeah, I've seen these guys at these events before, and I know how they drive, and I know their ability, and they are exceptional. They're the 1% of the 1% drivers. But how they came up to speed, whether they came here at the second warm up with their stuff that they normally run, or whether they came with what the team developed when they were here at the warm up, I'm not sure. But it took them a long time to get up to speed. Now it's just a warm up. No one should really care about winning that. But it's a good kind of peek through the window of who is doing well and who can get their driving up to scratch and understand the conditions very quickly. And I have to say those guys struggled when you compare them to, say, Orlowski or compare them to Carrot. Those guys got up to speed at can win a national championship or can win a worlds very quickly. They admittedly struggled, but what we don't know is what were they trying? Did they have a list of prototype stuff and they didn't care if they were doing donuts at the back of the B main? Who knows? But I think that was my read of the situation, is that it wasn't, they were battling with people that I know are around, top 10 at a national level here in Australia. And that those guys are at the pinnacle of any races that I've ever seen. So to see them not really get into it and I expected to see Fenn throw down the fastest lap on his first lap, but it never really kind of came to fruition. They did stay and do a lot of testing after the event for, I think, 4 or 5 days. So maybe they could have just been sandbagging. Who knows? But I wasn't as blown away
Got you.
as some of the other guys.
Got you. All right. I'm looking at your top 10 here, and it's very interesting. I would agree with most of this. You have Rivkin, Karab, Ongaro, Champlin, Orlowski, Donnelly, Fenn, Hotnan. Somebody we have forgotten to talk about is Kaoki Kato and the resurgence of top Japanese RC drivers. This man impressed me at the e-buggy worlds too, and I would absolutely not be surprised to see him in the A final as well. And then you have your battle for 10th would be between Horn, Lemieux, Runafalk, Bada, Boda, Burak, Rindenik, Schimmel, Tollard, Bakla. I think that would be amazing. Jared Ment, Kobovic, Tommy Hall, Noah Ben Mohammed, Lachlan Monday, who I believe is Ray Monday's son. I don't know who Jay is. Sorry, I'm gonna
Surgeon.
Is Surgeon Australian? And Sturdy. And you have your dark horses, Caleb Noble, who's a very accomplished 8-scale driver there. And Jamie Hall. I don't know, man. I can't. So my top 10 is a little bit different from that. I have definitely agree with all of those guys. I think that Ronafalk will be in there. And I forgot about Lemieux. Wow. But I think the only person but who do I kick out and put Ronafalk in? Jesus, I'd have to kick out Hotnan. Because I think Donnelly's definitely going to make it. Okay, sorry. I'll kick out Kato and put Ronafalk in there. I will put Kato in my top 10, battling with those guys. It depends. If the Ronafalk from the Nitro European Championship shows up and is full of confidence, yes. It may be even a win. I don't know. All right. Well, so do you think Rifkin's going to win both classes, or which class do you think he will win overall? Which class do you think he would win?
I'm not 100% certain. Okay. Like, I know he's 2-time two-wheel drive world champion. I know he'd love to add a four-wheel drive to that. And his results at a raw national level reflect that he's probably a faster driver in four-wheel drive. But at these big events, he seems to be able to perform really well in two-wheel. So I think he's probably got more of a chance than anything at two-wheel, but would not be surprised if he won four-wheel drive either. But, it's like if you're asking BT to pick, right? You're having to pick which child you love the most, right? Mm-hmm. You can't do that. So, all the people that I've put down, are people that have put the work in, have been here before, and or are on a really good hot streak at the moment, that are doing quite well. But I could see Rivkin winning both. I could see Karap winning both. I could see Champlin winning both. Or Olowski. It's that's what's so exciting about this world, right? There's no favorite. Like there is no home favorite. Donnelly, and I haven't spoken a lot about him because he's like he won both the warm-ups and all of that and has schooled everyone. And we got to keep him humble and I know he's trying to, their goal is the main. And we've got some guys here that if they put in clean runs can make the main,
I know.
So
it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting. I'll give you my people who I think can win four-wheel drive. I think it could be Karap, Ongaro, Champlin, Orlowski, and Ronafal. I think those guys can win it. In two-wheel drive, I think it could be Rivkin, Karap, Champlin, Orlowski, Fend.
Yeah.
I think those guys can win it. My dark horse, even though I don't want to call him dark horse, is Donnelly to win it. I think he'll be in the main. My dark horse to make the main, to be honest, will be my good friend. I have two dark horses, Kato and Rindernick. And I you know what? It's so hard because I can't take nothing away from Lemieux. I can't take nothing away against Schimmel. Boda Clement just won the French championship. He's been very well in 8 scale. I know this is an 8 scale. I wouldn't be surprised if there's another Australian in the final.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great. You know what? Let us know who you think is going to make the top. Give us your top 10 or top 3 for both classes in the comments of this. And I think that wraps it up for predictions. We'll see how it all comes out when it's all over in another 2 weeks' time. But it's difficult. It's very difficult. But it's very hard to go against Rivkin, very hard to go against Karap. I would have to throw in Orlowski into that mix right now for 10 scale. And Champlin. Champlin's looks in Champlin, when I had him on the INS show last week, he seems to be in a very good space right now, mentally. And that's a big thing. And he's like, I'm going there, clean slate. I'm going to enjoy Australia. I'm going to have fun, do my best. And I have he says, if I don't want people having expectations on me, and I have he goes, that way I don't. But he is one of the best in the world, right? Simple as that. So
I think that's the interesting kind of thought to close that off is any of the people that we've mentioned so far have the ability to win it. All of these guys are they are that 1% of 1%. They're at that world championship level. And it's down to the mental edge with some of these races. They can all do the same stuff on track. They can all do the same type of hot lap. But if one of those races gets off the plane or gets out of the car in a slightly better headspace, or the car that they throw down does exactly what they want it to do from lap 1, they could win. And those types of races are the ones that can dominate. And it can just be a matter of being in the right headspace, like you were just saying. A racer like Aidan Horn, sometimes he can be hot and he can be cold. When he's hot, no one can touch him. And when he's cold, he battles. And Champlin's the same. We've seen him decimate fields, but then also battle in the top 5. So I think any of these guys have the natural ability and have done the work to get the job done. It's whoever turns up on the day that honestly just clicks with them.
I agree with you. Can't wait. It's going to be interesting. I'll be glued to the RC Race Media. You can follow them on YouTube. You can follow them on Facebook. I'll be sharing all of that to my socials as well. So anybody that is looking to watch the world, remember, they're going to be 14 hours ahead of East Coast time because I always base things off East Coast time. So basically, you'll be able to watch in the evening, and then if you're on the East Coast, and then if you get up early, you can watch the last little bits in the morning. But I don't think I'll be staying up all night. I'll just watch in the morning or in the evening. All right, cool. We're gonna go have a few questions. We're not gonna answer all the questions here that were brought to us. Let's get ready. We haven't done a bench racing Q&A because it's late for Andrew, and he's got to get to rest and got to get to work tomorrow. But we're going to take a few of these questions, then we're going to wrap it up. That's brought to you by Beach RC. We have an affiliate link in the written description of this podcast. I'll see everybody at Masters of Dirt in a few weeks' time at Hobby Action. My first time going there.
BeachRC.com, the racer's one-stop online hobby shop. Choose from all the popular brands and variety in stock with super fast shipping and great customer service. BeachRC.com still has the local hobby shop feel with all the benefits of the internet. BeachRC.com is the exclusive distributor for Ultimate Racing, S-Works, Pro Circuit Racing tires, Nitro Lux fuels, and Assault RC performance products. So fill up your cart and check out at BeachRC.com today.
All right. Thank you to Beach RC for all your continued support. First question from Born of Crime himself, Mexico's favorite stock racer, Matt Gonzalez. Outback Steakhouse likes us to discuss Outback. Do you guys have Outback Steakhouse there in Australia? No, because you have the real Outback.
Matt Gonzalez loves talking about Outback because he loves it that much. And he knows it's a bugbear of mine that we don't have Outback. Yeah, Outback Steakhouse is not a thing here. It's not. It's American Australian. It's like I think we've maybe got one or two franchises here.
Like
it's not a thing.
It's like Mexican food. It's really Tex-Mex. You know,
yeah.
Go to an official. All right.
Yeah. So it is not a thing, Matthew, and you're not going to go and get Outback Steakhouse here.
That's right. Yeah. He could go cage diving with great white sharks. Hunter King. What's the possibility of Hunter King making the A? And why do you think it's going to happen? I'm sorry, Hunter King. I think there's no possibility of you making the A because you're a good stock driver. Mind you, he does do a lot of. He has a very nice off-road outdoor track that he does drive on. I talked to Hunter. He's a damn good stock driver. I think he is like the top TLR guy. I think he's kind of just resigned to go into Australia with his family as a vacation, as a race, and wherever the cards dropped, he will be happy with. And I think that is a great way to go get out of, go see a different country, go explore things, enjoy a race. If you make B, if you get close to an A, fine. But there's an immense amount of competition there, all vying for those 10 spots as well. And then he had, I don't know if you agree with me there. Do you know Hunter
Absolutely
King?
Agree.
Okay.
Yeah. We know more about the US and European scene than most of those guys do. We follow a lot.
He's a very good stock racer. Very good stock racer. And his follow-up question, why can't we have at least one big 1/10 scale race a year? It would shake things up from the normal indoor carpet high grip dirt track everyone has grown accustomed to. I would say that the last big outdoor 10 scale race was Cactus Classic. It has not been nothing. In fact, if you really look at it, there aren't really that many big 10 scale races anymore, to be honest. Because just talking about this, you have your nationals, you have the Clash, you have the INS races, which get pretty good. There's no more Reedy race. I would say this, Hunter King, why didn't you show up for the outdoor races at the Florida RC Championship at Coral Springs and Newberry? But mind you, to be honest, those are quite far away from where he lives. It's like an 8-hour drive.
I will say, having been over to the US a number of times and racing in indoor conditions, it is so nice to be able to turn up, roll your kit out, pack up. You don't leave the track filthy. It's not outdoor racing, right? It's not that you're outside all the time. It drains you, being out. It's like being at an 8 scale event. You just want to go and curl up in a ball and cry yourself to sleep at the end of most days because it sucks it out of you. But 10th scale in the US, it's amazing. You're indoors. It's great. And I think that the racing scene has evolved. And if racers did want a 1/10 scale outdoor scene, there would be one. But the reason that it's died off is that it obviously wasn't getting the support that it needed. So sure, Jimmy Babcock could run the Hot Rod Hobby Shootout, but no one goes. That's why
Actually, that was the last
event
one.
stopped.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great race. The Hot Rod Hobby
yeah.
Shoot. Hot Rods is awesome.
That was a staple outdoor event that everyone went to,
Mhm.
right? So I think the answer to that question is they don't exist because there's not the demand, and the races really need to make the demand.
Exactly.
Or one of the series needs to say, "Hey, we're going to do this," like a JC, but then it couldn't be an INS because the I stands for indoor, right? Is it? Yeah, indoor
Yeah,
national
indoor
series.
national
Yeah,
series.
right. So,
It could be an
it would
outdoor
need to
national
be.
series,
Yeah, you might need an outdoor national series,
but you need
something
people
like
to
that.
support it. There are
Yeah, you do.
pockets. There are pockets of outdoor racing in the USA. Pockets, but in general, it's mostly indoor because of the same thing that you just said. People want to be indoors. It's more controllable. It's probably cheaper. It's easier, and it's more comfortable for people. You don't have to deal with weather. All that type of stuff.
Amazing. And you only need like one or two pairs of tires. It's
Exactly.
so good. Yeah.
Mitchell Barkley asked, well, he asked if will the owner of Raw Speed will the owner of Raw Speed be at this event since they had a Spec tire for the event? I don't believe so because they just changed hands, and I believe he's talked about this. But he said they have Ari Bakla, who is the importer there, which I think is all they really need, to be honest. And obviously Jason Snyder, AJ wasn't involved in this deal, so I don't really expect him to be there. And he's got to move everything. So, Robin Jones, what four-wheel drive platform are the Team Kyosho drivers using? We did touch on this. You said it's like a new prototype car.
That's what they were running at the warm up, but I'm not sure what they'll have.
Mhm.
But yeah, for sure. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a new car.
Okay. Eric Quartermaster, is anyone running a rear motor two-wheel drive? We don't know. It's not started. We did touch on that as well.
There will be some people that are entered here from Australia that are heavily in the vintage scene that I know will have rear mount cars.
Awesome.
But it's just your vintage guys that will be running an 89 Masami replica or something like that.
Got you.
Yeah.
Kevin Mendez on YouTube asks, how will track preparations go throughout the week? We talked about that. We were not quite sure, and we know they're going to water heavily. They have a molasses mix that they put on as well. Not sure if they're going to fix bumps or not. We'll know. Did we know that Friday they switched to tracker on for four-wheel drive? That's something. What are they doing for that? That's what we forgot to talk about.
That's a good one. So the current plan is the track will run one direction, and then they will change it to. So the track is designed to run clockwise for two-wheel drive and then anti-clockwise for four-wheel drive. Now, the issue with that can be the jumps. The jumps haven't been built to run both ways. What's meant to happen in the break day, so for those that haven't been to a Worlds, 10th scale Worlds, you do two-wheel drive and then you do four-wheel drive or vice versa. And then there's a day break in the middle. And that day break gives the track the opportunity to fix the track and then change the layout. So what will be happening in that break day is that the track builder will come in and redo the jumps to work the other way. So it's not like China where they built the jumps to run both ways, which is almost impossible. So that's what's going to happen. They do have approval from IFMAR that if there is really bad inclement weather, they will not change the track, and the track will run clockwise for two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. So if there's not enough time in the schedule to change the track, they won't.
How is the weather looking for that week?
We're starting to get some decent forecasts. I think Monday, Tuesday, there's a little bit of rain forecast. So the start of two-wheel drive is looking a little bit meh, but then the rest of the week's looking really nice.
Okay. And I have two Patreon questions from Ben Young, but we answered one of them. He goes, will the Americans complain the surface is too low grip? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. If they complain that it's low grip, they didn't race at Hobby Action with slicks with no sauce. That was low grip.
All right. Well, we thank you all for the questions. We thank you for your time. Schedule for the Worlds is Monday is opening registration and opening ceremonies. I think they hit the track Tuesday with practice. Wednesday will be qualifying. Thursday finals, break day Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday again, and rain dates are Tuesday, Wednesday, I think it is, or Tuesday.
Tuesday, Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah.
So they've got 2 rain days in there if need be. And remember, it is in the future, like you're saying before. So, we'll be on track on Tuesday, but it'll still be Monday in the States.
Yeah,
So
there we go.
yeah.
14 hours ahead of EST. So that's 17 hours off Pacific for all my Americans, 17 hours ahead for all you guys in California. Andrew, I want to thank you for your time. This is, once again, I always blame Max for going long, but this time it was my fault. But we had a really great chat. I thank you for everything. We enjoy hearing your feedback while you're there at the race. Enjoy your time there. And I'm going to let you go get some rest. And good luck to the club. Good luck to everybody attending. And we look forward to an awesome outdoor worlds, man. And you have fun.
I appreciate it, Lefty, and thank you for everything that you do. It's a thankless job, and you're doing amazing at promoting the hobby and sport that we love. So it's a pleasure to come on here, and I am a Patreon of yours because I truly believe in what you do. I listen to your podcasts in the car on the drive home. I'd encourage everyone to if you're not a Patreon, jump on. And if you do listen to this podcast regularly, help out. If Lefty and other podcasters that don't do this anymore, well, we won't have anything to listen to. So support all the people that promote our sport.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I appreciate your patronage. We have links for that all in the written description, as well as all of our sponsors. Thank you to them. J Concepts, High Tech, Sidewinder, Latara, Invisible Speed, ML Toy, Side Piece Racing, Dollar Hobbies, Fly Sky, Get Shit Done Coffee, Elite RC, RC Project, Mayako, Techno RC, Beach RC, Racecraft, Clinic. And thank you to all of the NNRC squad around the world, like Mr. Selvaggi here. And tune in, RC Race Media on YouTube, everybody. That's where you can follow it. I'm sure they'll probably have it on, I think they'll have it on Live RC as well, because they kind of pro. So follow them on
YouTube,
Facebook.
Live RC.
Yeah. Give them a like, a sub notification button. Click, give it to us as well. And remember, we'll be doing some live shows. We're trying to do one every day. And thank you, Andrew, for your time. And I hope you guys enjoyed this chat. Good luck to everybody. Lefty and Andrew out.